All right, you and I are watching our guy throw 20 years of youth to the dogs. Day 1 of cutting ties. He stood up and friend-zoned the school beauty in front of the entire class, just neighbors, nothing more. Day 2 of cutting ties. She never saw this coming. He returned every single gift she ever gave him, told her he wasn't worthy of her stuff. Day 3 of cutting ties. He totally flipped his college application choices. The farther away from this girl, the absolute better. Leaving the exam hall, she leaned right up against the school heartthrobs chest and shouted at him. They were all heading to Capital University together. On the surface, our MC nodded along, but inside he was thinking, is she completely out of her mind? The second he turned away, he secretly wiped that application clean. He aimed for the northeast, entirely solo. Late that night, she actually came looking for him, smiling bright with a plate of dumplings, saying she made them herself. They were chive and egg. Figured he would like them, so she dropped by. He knew exactly what she was doing, showing weakness, a silent apology, and yeah, she almost never lowered her pride to coax anyone like this. He didn't refuse. This was probably going to be their final meal together anyway. After leaving, she called, demanding why he hid his plans. He was so calm, zero emotion, because honestly, you and I know their 20 years of history had already been totally shattered back on Mid-Autumn Festival, during a big joint dinner between their two families. She publicly humiliated him, straight up called him a desperate, pathetic stalker. Only then did he finally realize the girl he held in the palm of his hand, loved so deeply, actually despised him this much. That exact day was the final birthday she ever spent with him. Every single year, his big birthday wish was to marry Khloe Weaver as soon as possible. After all, ever since he could remember. Hearing this, the adults teased them. We can go ahead and set a wedding date. The corners of his lips hooked up. He was secretly celebrating in his heart. But get this, Khloe did something totally beyond his wildest expectations. As the chatter grew louder, she suddenly stood up without a single warning. The dinner table nearly flipped over. He was totally startled. He subconsciously turned his head to look at her, half a piece of shrimp still in his mouth. He had never seen her like this before. She stood there, her face packed with absolute fury, tears swirling right in her eyes, looking like she had suffered the world's greatest injustice, shouting, "Who gave you the right to arrange my life? He is him, I am me. I will never marry him in this lifetime." Just dropped the idea. Our guy was completely, utterly stunned. The half-eaten piece of shrimp dropped to the floor. His throat felt completely blocked by something hard, aching terribly. All the blood in his body practically rushed straight to his head, his ears ringing loud. Uncle Weaver was the very first to react, opening his mouth to scold her behavior. "How are you speaking? Why can't I speak my mind? In my eyes, he is just a neighbor, at best an older brother. I honestly do not like him at all, and let me tell you, stay far away from me now. You are not allowed to orbit around me anymore. It is so freaking annoying." Her final half sentence was pointed directly at him. The pure resentment in her eyes made him want to crawl into a dark hole and vanish. Those were heavily brutal words. It was no different from publicly pointing right at him and calling him a shameless, pathetic creep. His parents' faces turned pale and green. Uncle Weaver was so absolutely furious, he slapped her right there in public, a crisp, loud smack. His entire body trembled. This was watch closely. That was the first time our guy saw Uncle Weaver strike her. Her petite frame spun from the sheer force, and the back of her head slammed hard against the corner of the wall. He and his mom instinctively rushed right over to help, but she shoved him away violently. Caught completely off guard, he fell back onto the floor. Bright red blood dripped endlessly down her forehead, matched only by a vicious glare. She looked like she wanted to murder him on the spot. "Are you satisfied?" Now he could only stare with wide, stunned eyes, seeing her wipe tears and turn to leave. He grabbed her arm. What exactly did she mean by that? They needed to make things crystal clear. She screamed that she hated him shamelessly, following her around every single day. She wanted absolutely nothing to do with him anymore. Honestly, not in This lifetime, after that brutal moment, the two of them didn't speak a single word to each other. The morning sun felt perfect, yet they were acting like total strangers now. The moment our MC stepped into the classroom, Khloe followed right behind him. In the past, she always walked in front while he took the back. Now, he was up front and she was stuck in the back. Thinking about the swap, it was actually pretty hilarious. Their classmates always loved to tease them. They called our guy and Khloe little lovebirds. Flying together, totally inseparable, seeing the two of them show up one right after the other. Several guys in the back row pinched their lips, blowing really sharp whistles. They chattered away, teasing loudly that the class lovebirds had arrived. They usually pulled this exact stunt. Hearing it before, he only felt pure joy. Today, they were saying the exact same jokes. The words had not changed one bit, but his mindset was completely different now. He subconsciously turned his head just to look at Khloe. She wore a freezing expression, walking straight to her seat with a totally blank face, and pulled out a workbook to start studying. Watching her absolute cold demeanor, his heart just ached like it was getting pricked by sharp needles. Some words, once spoken, can never be taken back. Some things, once they happen, the final ending is already set in stone. Since she wanted to draw a firm line, he decided to help her out. He dropped his backpack behind his seat, marched to the podium, and faced the 50-something classmates below. For the first time, he publicly clarified the exact relationship between Khloe and himself. He announced that he and Khloe were just neighbors living right across from each other. They only walked together simply because their two houses were just way too close. He apologized for causing everyone to completely misunderstand. What he really wanted to tell everyone was that besides being neighbors, he and Khloe were absolutely nothing else. He asked them to drop the random guesses and finally stop joking about them. Thank you. As he stepped right down from the podium, he saw the totally shocked and confused looks from his classmates. Passing by Khloe, he could not tell if it was from her head injury, but her face looked incredibly awful. From that moment on, he and Khloe never agreed to walk to school together ever again, even though most mornings they would accidentally bump into each other somewhere. He would just give a polite nod. He would never take the initiative to speak a single word. So many times she lingered by the side of the road, looking like she was intentionally waiting for him to pass by. She would purse her lips like she desperately had something to say, but he pretended not to notice and walked straight past her. His classmates obviously did not really believe his big speech on the podium that day. After all, it had been over 10 years and they were always inseparable. He later heard from his desk mate that the class even held a few secret "all right, watch this drama." His classmates held secret meetings behind his back. Ultimately, they unanimously agreed Lance was just temporarily mad at Khloe. Once he cooled down, they would naturally go right back to normal. Lance had zero comment on this. People wanted to stay delusional. Fine. He could not exactly pry open their skulls and force his thoughts into their brains. Whatever, the cold facts would soon speak for themselves. Thursday afternoon hit, bringing the dreaded third period PE class. High school seniors basically ate their textbooks alive every single day. Everyone felt totally tortured, completely burned out, and lethargic. Their teachers were terrified the students would just snap from the stress, so every PE class, they herded everyone out onto the track. 3 to 5 laps, 0 stopping allowed. But since Lance had a nasty cold, he grabbed a sick note and stayed inside. 20 minutes later, however, a guy kicked the classroom door open. Spotting Lance, he frantically grabbed him with zero explanation and practically dragged him outside. "Hey, Khloe took a spill. Running, she is hurt and bleeding everywhere. Go help her." Seeing that Lance had finally arrived, the crowd of students moved in perfect unison, parting ways, leaving a VIP lane just for him. Khloe suddenly looked up, staring over. From a distance, real emotion actually surged in her dark eyes, but the look quickly reverted to that usual freezing coldness. Right then, Lance suddenly snapped wide awake, completely freezing in his tracks. Only then did he realize he had uncontrollably rushed straight over to her. He could not help but press his lips into a bitter smile. What was he doing? One mention of her injury, and he dropped everything. Was he truly just a natural-born glutton for punishment? Had she not scolded him enough? 50 students were staring, totally expecting him to play the fool again, panicking over her injury, fetching her some water, grabbing bandages and serving her like a loyal dog. But Lance was no longer that weak guy. She never needed him anyway, and he had zero reason to rush to her now. Somebody take her to the school clinic. Dropping that cold sentence, Lance just turned and walked away. Watch this carefully. Zero hesitation. His absolute rejection totally shattered everyone's expectations, and instantly after he left, the entire field erupted into crazy whispers. People were saying all kinds of rumors. Lance treated it all as white noise. He kept walking, never looking back once. Time slipped away fast, in the blink of an eye. Over 2 weeks had passed since that drama. Lance lived a bit lonely, but eventually, after evening study, he packed up a massive stack of textbooks, said goodbye to his friends, and walked home alone. Maybe the city night view was just stunning, but his mood was surprisingly great. He even started humming an old song he had heard somewhere, but just as he tried to remember the lyrics, Khloe stepped out from the shadows of an alley, standing firmly right in his path. Khloe was gorgeous, bright eyes, a perfect smile, graceful and totally slim. She absolutely had the looks to make any guy completely obsessed, but honestly, who cares anymore? She had zero to do with him now. Seeing her, his chest still tightened involuntarily. Toxic memories instantly flooded his brain. His heart ached like it was being twisted apart, wanting zero further drama with her. Lance sidestepped to the right, trying to leave, but unexpectedly she actually mirrored his movement, blocking his path all over again. He instantly felt a Lance was pretty annoyed. He lifted his eyes, trying his absolute best to keep his gaze calm and completely indifferent. Do you need something? He asked. Can I walk with you? Even without a reason. Didn't we walk home together every single day before? Khloe asked. He gave a tragic smile. Before was before, now is now. Things changed. If you don't need anything, I am leaving. Bye. Lance stepped to the side, just wanting to walk away, but Khloe was fast. She reached out and grabbed his left arm. Lance, what are you doing? Is it really necessary to be this cold? Khloe, I need to go home, please. Just move out of the way. Lance Harper, she gritted her teeth. What exactly do you want? Are you seriously trying to cut me out of your life until we die of old age? I only said a few harsh words. Do you really have to hold a grudge this long? Didn't I already apologize? Since when did you get so petty? Honestly, she just completely failed to understand. For Lance, it wasn't about those few harsh words at all. It was about the intention behind them. That was the root of his pain. She would probably never know that what she considered just a few harsh words actually inflicted an insane amount of damage on him. Hearing her speak so casually, Lance lost his temper too. He lifted his head and looked her dead in the eye. Khloe, isn't this exactly what you wanted? I did exactly what you asked, and you are still not happy. Please tell me, what exactly do you want me to do? You say it, as long as you say it, I will do it. He heard the sound of her grinding her teeth in the darkness. It was honestly a bit chilling. If you want to draw a clear line with me, why don't you just move out? Wouldn't that be a cleaner break? My dad is looking at new houses. However, buying a new house is a massive deal. I am afraid it won't be resolved so overnight. I will urge my dad again when I get back. Don't worry, even if I can't move out immediately, I won't pester you anymore. You are ruthless. Her face turned extremely ugly, after staring at Lance for a good while to confirm he wasn't just speaking out of anger. She bitterly dropped those words, turned around and took large strides away. She quickly disappeared right into the darkness. Time drifted by pretty uneventfully. Their two families mostly resumed normal diplomatic relations, just not as enthusiastically as before, and there was always a heavy barrier between Khloe and Lance. he never stepped foot in her room again. He rarely even went over to their house. He tried to decline the joint family dinners as much as possible, in awkward situations where he had to meet Khloe. Alone, Lance kept his distance as much as possible and just maintained his absolute silence. On New Year's Day that year, his mom originally planned for them to celebrate in their own home, but Uncle and Auntie Weaver invited them over and over again. His parents tried every excuse in the book, but they still couldn't say no to them. Lance hadn't planned on going over, but get this, Khloe actually came looking for him. He was sprawled on the sofa, wearing his headphones and just listening to music. She stood quietly right beside him. Actually, Lance fully knew she had arrived, he just didn't know what mindset to use, so like you and I probably would, he pretended not to know. Eventually, she just pulled out his earphone. He had absolutely no choice but to open his eyes. "Need something?" he asked. She sat down next to him. Lance imperceptibly scooted toward the edge, earning a very displeased frown from her. "Lance, actually I came to say I am sorry." "What?" Lance thought he misheard her. "I came to apologize. I was wrong that day. I shouldn't have said those harsh things to you, although I won't. Like you, I've never truly hated you," Khloe told him. "No matter what, I will always treat you as a good older brother. So Lance, let's just keep going to school and coming home together. Otherwise, my mom and auntie will still have to worry about us." Lance clenched his jaw tight. This so-called apology was basically ripping his heart open. She might as well have said nothing. He finally started to forget a little, and here she comes, reminding him all over again. Khloe really knew how to murder someone without drawing blood. Anyway, time flew by in a flash. Now get this, after the college exams, the massive burden Lance had carried for over 10 years was suddenly lifted. He felt totally relieved. Lance slept heavily for 2 straight days. Aside from eating and going to the bathroom, no matter who called him, he wouldn't get out of bed. On the 4th day after exams, Khloe came over. By then, he couldn't sleep anymore and was sitting at his desk, flipping through his old diaries, page by page. He couldn't make up his mind whether it was better to keep treasuring them or just burn them, given his current relationship with her. Burning them was probably best, but thinking about his 20 years of silent devotion, he just couldn't bear to part with them. He couldn't let her go. He couldn't toss them away. His habit of writing diaries actually came from his dad. Since 1st grade of elementary school, Lance had filled up several thick notebooks. They were entirely about every single little detail between him and Khloe, a few diaries holding his entire youth. Suddenly, a soft chuckle startled him. Turning his head, he saw her leaning against his bedroom door frame, looking at him with a teasing expression. His heart panicked, but his hands steadily locked the diary in the drawer. He forced a smile. "Khloe, you're here, our big sleep god is finally awake," she teased. She walked over, lifting herself up, sitting right on his desk. Her voice carried a bit of teasing. How long had it really been? The dynamic between them truly was as bland as water. Her sudden proximity made him feel completely unfamiliar. Lance uncomfortably dodged to the side. Her closeness used to make his heart flutter. Now it just made him want to hide. "Lance, how did you do on the test?" She looked at him with burning eyes, carrying some sort of anticipation. "I came over a few times and you were sleeping every time. You sure can sleep." It was okay. He kept his head down, not looking at her, focusing entirely on fiddling with a small ornament on his desk, making absolutely sure to keep his distance from her. "Actually, between you and me, he aced the exam. There was just a rift his heart toward her. He couldn't converse freely with her like before. He was even afraid to lock eyes with her again. He was terrified he couldn't control his own heart and would continue to sink deeper for her. Whenever he saw her, he constantly reminded himself, she is the younger sister, he is the older brother. Do not cross that line. Lance, tell me the truth. Are you still mad at me? Perhaps sensing his coldness, her voice turned somewhat serious. He finally looked at her. Totally confused, she looked at him for a while, giving a helpless smile. Lance, let's apply to the same school. That way we can still go to classes together, Lance smiled and said, I haven't decided yet. This whole conversation about which university to apply to ended up going nowhere. She didn't get his final answer. When she left, there was a slight hint of regret. He didn't tell her that someone had come looking for him, very cryptically expressing the hope that he definitely would not applying to the exact same school as her. Deep down, Lance was actually incredibly stubborn. He refused to blindly follow orders from anyone, whether or not he would actually listen to someone was entirely his call, and whatever major choice he made had absolutely nothing to do with what others demanded. He was his own man. He lived for himself and his parents now. During dinner that night, Khloe showed up again. She brought over 2 steaming plates of dumplings and smiled, chive and egg dumplings fresh out of the pot. They smell amazing. She knew exactly how much Lance loved them. Eat them while they were hot, but Lance had already inhaled a massive bowl of rice and 3 braised ribs. His stomach was completely packed at that point, but under Khloe's eager stare, he forced one down and then set his chopsticks aside. Once she left, his mom brought up the big college applications. She mentioned thinking it over, deciding it was probably much better to apply to the exact same school as Khloe. After all, they grew up together. They knew each other perfectly and could easily look out for one another. Lance didn't say a word. He had secret plans. Now, you and I should know about the guy in class next door named Chad. He was a new transfer from out of town. The universally acknowledged school heartthrob. Seeing those 2 hands holding each other made Lance's heart completely shatter over and over again. Returning to school after exams, he watched with his own 2 eyes as Chad pulled Khloe into a hidden corner, swearing he wanted to attend the exact same university as her. He wanted to be the knight protecting her forever. Right then, Lance's heart hurt so much he felt like dying. Soon, he and Khloe submitted their college applications on the exact same day. After finishing hers, she darted into his room like an excited rabbit, asking if he had made his final choice. He saw her eyes shining with starlight, and it wasn't for him. He knew that. He picked. Is it Capital U? Capital U is expanding their massive enrollment this year. You will definitely get in, Khloe. Is Chad going to Capital U too? Actually, Lance hated asking because he already knew the painful answer, but he still opened mouth anyway. He just wanted that tiny, non-existent sliver of impossible hope. How incredibly stupid was he, still holding on to hope, but what could he do? He just liked her. Khloe paused, then broke into a massive smile. Yeah, Chad, his goal since childhood was attending Capital U. Lance lowered his eyes, completely hiding the bitter ache inside his chest. Khloe's bright smile slowly faded. She stared straight at the totally fake smile on his face, her eyes turning completely pitch black. Lance, thank you and I am sorry. She apologized way too often, but those few weightless words could never fix the scars on his heart. He smiled faintly. He shifted his heavy gaze to a spot on the desk. Sitting there were 4 little tiger figurines in various poses. Each one looked incredibly mighty and domineering. Those were what she handed him on his 18th birthday. He remembered her saying back then, Lance, I bought these for my future boyfriend. I will leave them with you for safekeeping for now. Once I find a boyfriend, give them back to me. Back then, Lance happily thought that this mysterious future boyfriend would actually be him. Now you and I finally understand the harsh truth. She just wanted him to be a literal storage unit. 3 long years had passed. She found her boy, his. All right, watch this. Lance's time as her personal storage unit was officially over. He grabbed 4 little tigers and dropped them right into her hands. Khloe looked at him, completely confused. Why? She said the words, she made the moves. Did she have to play innocent at a time like this? Years ago, she trusted him to keep these safe, claiming they were a gift for her future boyfriend. Well, now she had one. It just wouldn't be right for Lance to keep holding on to them. Time to return them to their owner. In the very last minute before clicking confirm, Lance actually changed his university choice. He switched from capital U to Northern U, a famous college up north. Their traditional Chinese painting program was totally famous nationwide. He heard that so many great masters graduated from there. Since he wanted absolutely nothing to do with capital U, it was his best backup plan. Both Uncle and Auntie Weaver kept asking if he chose capital U. He vaguely brushed them off every single time. Then, the actual acceptance letters arrived. Lance just stared at it for a long time. He and Khloe were ultimately from completely different worlds. Heading off to college was honestly just another milestone to draw a massive line between them, but holding her very own acceptance letter. Khloe ran to his house in pure excitement, basically demanding to see his. Lance, bring out your acceptance letter so I can admire it. Here is mine. Take a look. Her smile was absolutely beautiful, exactly like the smile in his memory that kept him up all night. Lance calmly placed his own acceptance letter into her hand. Khloe stared right at the school name, her eyes totally widening in shock. She was stunned, completely blindsided. Lance had always listened to whatever she said, it seemed. She never expected that for something huge like college applications, he would actually make a choice completely against her wishes. Khloe probably still had not even realized it yet. You and I know he was not the old Lance anymore. She changed him. Lance, why? There was a real trace of hurt buried in her eyes. Khloe, without you, I am already very sad. I cannot lose myself anymore. You do not love me, so just let me walk my own path. My teacher said the Chinese painting major there suits me better. Lance smiled faintly. He did not look into her eyes again, nor did he check to see what kind of expression she had after his answer. You must still be holding a grudge against me if my mom finds out. You did not pick the same school as me. She will probably beat me up. She won't. If Auntie really tries to hit you, since we live so close, I will definitely hear the noise. I will personally explain everything to her clearly. I will not let you get hurt, Lance answered her calmly. She suddenly leaned right in front of him. Khloe was so close he could literally count her eyelashes. His heart started beating wildly all over again, completely betraying his own expectations. He really loved those eyes of hers. They seemed to hold an entire galaxy. Lance, look at me. Are you still hung up on what I said that day? Are you still blaming me? You never forgave me. Lance, I was talking complete nonsense. Can you not just forget it? Lance could not forget. She hurt him deeply. How could he ignore it? And how could he easily forget? Losing romance was pathetic enough on its own. He refused to lose his dignity, too. Besides, knowing it was a completely fruitless endeavor, why should he force them both to carry this heavy burden? I forgot it a long time ago, he lied. Khloe finally left. She looked awful. Lance honestly did not get it. He had already backed off this much. What more did she want? Download Shuki. Check out Forget the Chills for full episodes. He finally let it all go. Consider his 20 years of youth entirely fed to the dogs. The southern city where he lived was way down south, but Northern U was up north, over 3,000 kilometers away. Basically the absolute ends of the earth. His parents, they couldn't even bear the thought of him moving so far away. They were terrified he wouldn't handle the climate there or even stomach the local food. The exact night his university acceptance letter arrived, his mom broke down crying. She literally asked if he wanted to repeat high school and just apply to capital U next year, or hey, even that totally average local university would do. Staying closer meant his folks could actually take proper care of him, saving them from endless worrying day and night. But you see, he understood his mother's desperate, loving efforts, but what about his own? He desperately needed to forget her, to start completely over. He really needed a fresh environment to wipe the slate clean. Staying silent, he just watched his mom with eager eyes, and let's be real, mothers always understand their kid's heart best. She just used the corner of his shirt to wipe her red, teary eyes. Northern U is solid, their Chinese painting major, even more famous than capital U's. She told him to study hard, to push for that combined master's and doctoral track. His parents promised they'd retire soon, saying if he really wanted to stay up north, they'd move there to keep him company. His dad asked why. He was crying. Maya was already there. She and Lance could easily look out for each other. Lance wouldn't be lonely. His parents' immense thoughtfulness and love completely wiped away the heavy reluctance buried deep within his heart. Back then, his mind was entirely locked on escaping far from Khloe's side. Submitting that application, purely a solo decision on his part, he completely forgot Uncle Weaver had another daughter, and wouldn't you know it, she was doing her master's at his exact chosen northern U. Honestly, some things are just pure fate. Fortunately, his safety net up there was no longer Khloe. It was Maya, an older sister who totally doted on him like a little brother. Now, Khloe left a day before he did. He desperately wanted to say goodbye. But remembering her harsh words, he totally lacked the courage to even step outside his own front door, so he just watched her quietly through the peephole. Suitcase in hand, she just stood right outside his house for a full 2 minutes. Only when someone finally rushed her did she walk away. He stood frozen behind that door, watching her leave, step by step, walking far away from her home, step by step, fading right out of his world. Her silhouette vanished into the stairwell, stumbling to the balcony, hiding in the dark corner. He watched her walk away one last time. They were finally completely separated, and his unspeakable secret crush, left totally homeless. Fast forward, his new college life was wildly busy, but still, every single second of the day, he couldn't stop wondering what she was up to, wondering if she ever thought of him. Since birth, he had never been apart from her for this long. It left him feeling incredibly lost. His heart constantly felt empty, so to distract himself, he joined several campus clubs, volunteering every single free minute, basically turning himself into a spinning top, working like a dog, passing out the second he finally crawled into bed. Even after reporting to their separate colleges, they somehow still kept in touch, always her messaging on WeChat, asking how he was doing, begging him to send some photos. He forced his feelings down hard. Every single reply he sent back was completely bland and direct. As for those photos she kept asking for, he didn't know if she wanted pictures of him or just the campus. He figured it was definitely the latter. So he just took a bunch of shots of cultural landmarks and sent them over. After that, the messages totally dried up. They would frequently go 10 days without talking. She had the guy she liked keeping her company. He didn't want to cause any drama. Plus, he didn't want his messy feelings to ruin her vibe, so no matter how much he missed her, he held back and never sent a single message. First, then right before winter break, she finally reached out. She asked when he was heading home. He just held his phone, staring blankly at those few words, a total mix of joy and absolute misery. After thinking for a long time, he finally typed out a quick reply on the screen. He told her, "Haven't decided yet, plus we aren't taking the same route, don't worry about me." Later that afternoon, she posted a WeChat update. It only had 4 simple words: "We are going home," and the 2 pictures underneath. One showed a booking for 2 plane tickets. The other was 2 hands held tight. His heart absolutely shattered. He just dragged his suitcase alone, crossing mountains and seas, starting that lonely journey back home. Up north, the winter break was pretty long. He could just comfortably hide away at home for a few extra days. Plus, he got his mom's home-cooked meals every single day, the exact thing he craved at school. Maya had returned a few days before him. Once she found out he was back, she started knocking on his door randomly, just to sit for a bit and chat with him. Every time she came by, she had this huge smile. She told him crazy stories from her campus. She bragged about how close her dorm was to Chad's place. She talked about all the fun spots they had visited, and then she showed him their couple photos one by one. Ouch. He just told her about the heavy snow up north and the massive icicles hanging off the roofs. He talked all about the crazy locals who ignored the cold, totally smashing open the thick river ice to jump in for a swim. Most of the time, she just listened quietly, occasionally. Flashing a tiny smile, sometimes she called him a total glutton, sometimes she reminded him to bundle up and not catch a cold, or she would say he needed to take better care of himself, being all alone out there. Everything she did and said, he just wrote it off as an older sister caring for her little brother. He didn't dare overthink it, and he definitely didn't dare listen for any hidden deeper meaning. Look, you and I know he still had to live his own life. Everything else was just background noise. Then one day she walked in. He had both legs propped on the coffee table, absolutely demolishing a huge slice, getting sticky watermelon juice literally everywhere. She just rolled her eyes, marched to the bathroom, grabbed a wet towel and chucked it right at his face. Her tone was completely disgusted. Look at how messy you eat. Seriously, what girl would ever want to be with you? So she really had to treat his love like garbage, trampling it just to tear him down so brutally. His heart gave this sudden, sharp ache. Khloe, please just stay further from him. It hurt. Ultimately, the spring festival was spent with both their families. Their family of 3 got dragged over to Uncle Weaver's place bright and early. Window. All right, check this out. Festive paper cuts on the windows, delicate string lights hitting the balcony, the loud, sporadic pops of firecrackers echoing outside, various New Year specials blasting on the television, all of it amplifying the festive holiday vibe perfectly. But our guy Lance, he was bored. He wanted to go home and hide in his room, but his aunt blocked his escape every single time. She wanted him to go hang out in Khloe's room. He didn't exactly say no, but he didn't go either. Instead, Lance just sank into the sofa, mindlessly scrolling through his phone all alone. The heavy past hung over him like literal sharp knives. He couldn't just forget about it. Yeah, Khloe had apologized, but Lance simply couldn't get past that massive emotional hurdle. Maybe he was being a bit too petty, but the guy had a deep bleeding scar holding him back. Suddenly, his phone was snatched right out of his hands. Startled, he looked up. Khloe was leaning on the sofa right next to him. She held his phone up to her face, totally snooping at his screen. He demanded it back, annoyed. Lance reached out to grab his phone, but she quickly yanked it away, shot him a fierce glare, and turned around, completely bolting. She yelled at him to come to her room to get it back. Now Lance really didn't want to go in there, and he absolutely hated chasing after her. But wait, his phone still had a ton of saved photos of her hidden away. If she actually saw those, she would definitely start overthinking everything again. You and I know he had no choice. He got up to retrieve his phone. By the time he walked over, Khloe was already sitting at her desk, inviting him in. She wanted to watch together. She was smiling brightly, literal starlight shimmering in the depths of her eyes, but Lance stayed cold. He reminded her she didn't actually like him, refusing to go inside. He told her to bring it out. She mocked him, asking when he became such a coward. She told him to just keep watching his little web drama. She offered to watch television instead. Lance just lowered his eyes, completely flat, and turned right around to leave. Visibly annoyed, she stopped him, calling him out for being a sore loser who couldn't take a joke. She muttered he was just as petty as him, here, as if she even wanted his phone anyway. Raising her hand, she tossed the device right to him. Lance scrambled and barely caught it. Out of the corner of his eye, he spotted pure frustration flashing on her face. A massive headache started building in his temples. He honestly didn't know how to handle her anymore. Now, with his phone safely back in hand, his desire to watch shows was dead. Instead, his mind just kept obsessing over what she just said. Who exactly was this other guy she mentioned? Khloe always had a super unique personality growing up. She really hated hanging out with guys. Lance was basically her only real exception, so it honestly wasn't that hard to figure out exactly who she meant. It was Chad. Realizing this, Lance quietly opened up his photo gallery. He started deleting those hidden memories, erasing them one by one. Close to 9 o'clock, Maya suddenly video called. The family chatted for quite a while, then his aunt called Lance over. His older sister had something too. Tell him. He sat right down. Through the screen, Maya was quietly watching him, a hint of a warm smile hidden in her eyes. She explained she had been busy out sketching. With her professor totally missing his pickup, she checked in, asking if things were all right at school. He nodded. It had been over a whole year since he saw Maya. She definitely gained some mature charm, looking into those gentle eyes, shimmering with actual starlight. Waves of light rippled across the screen. Khloe was stunning, but Maya, absolute perfection. She was worried about our MC, asking if the food was bad and why he lost weight. Our guy quickly denied it. He loved northern dishes, especially the sweet and sour pork gyul baoru. His hungry expression completely amused Maya. She raised her eyebrows, slowly breaking into this incredibly warm, totally indulgent smile. She promised to treat him to that pork when she returned by April. Maya's call totally made his New Year's Eve, but you know how it is, happy days fade fast. Before our MC knew it, the new semester was already starting. Under the strict orders from their moms, he and Khloe booked their flights for the exact same day. Landing at the airport, Chad was right there by the curb, smiling, finally free from her parents' radar. Khloe was just so hyped, she ran right over, grabbed his hand, and jumped into his arms. Classic passionate love. One day apart probably felt like 3 whole years to them. Our MC, completely jealous, he just turned his head away, flat out refusing to watch. He dragged his own luggage inside like a lone wolf. The academic grind this term was way harder. Our guy tossed aside all those distracting thoughts and just threw himself entirely into studying. Slowly, he realized his heart was finally calm. He even joined this massive art competition from the department. His rank was insanely high. It literally caused a massive sensation across the whole campus. One guest professor absolutely loved his painting. He asked him to paint a fresh interpretation of blooming flowers and prosperity. The deal, nail it, and his work goes to a major art exhibition to show off, plus a spot as his official graduate student. This professor was basically a legend in the traditional Chinese painting scene. Getting personal guidance from a master like him, that is the ultimate dream for any student. When our MC nervously handed his final piece to the old master, the guy was on a video call. Just as he was about to back away, the professor waved him in, grabbing the painting and holding it right up to the screen. He demanded the people on call critique it one by one. After the meeting, our guy found out those were the master's actual grad students. He was grading their work online. Obviously, our boy's artwork scored insanely high praise again. Professor practically ordered him to add a girl from the call on WeChat, saying their art styles were unique and could totally complement each other. He really wanted him to chat with her, swap insights on Chinese painting, and level up. Our MC really didn't want to add her, but the master ignored his personal boundaries, snatched his phone, pulled up his QR code, and shoved it right in front of the webcam. Professor, I have his WeChat. A crisp, cool voice pierced his ears. Wait, you two already know each other. The professor pulled the phone back in front of our MC. Looking at the screen, he smiled. It was Maya on the other side of that digital connection, looking right back with a smile. She is my older sister. Be good, pay attention in class. I will be back soon to treat you, she promised. Maya's smile was so gentle, totally spoiling him just like she always did. After that, the professor praised our guy's talent to everyone he met. In his eyes, our MC was a rare genius. Literally overnight, he turned into a all right, you and I are watching Lance become a massive legend across the whole school. He shoots straight into the top 3 campus popularity rankings, his personal photo plastered right onto the main billboard. Almost every single student recognizes his face now. After that huge boost, the commissions start pouring in. Everyone wants him to paint. Paid, unpaid, doesn't matter. He is busy as hell, and honestly his mood finally improves. Then there is Maya, a few years older. Usually, Lance just minds his own business. He didn't know much about her at first, but now they talk all the time. Turns out she is actually a fascinating person. Every few days, she sits down and discusses traditional Chinese painting with him, passing down her own rich artistic secrets. Sometimes she even sends over her latest art pieces so they can study them. He frequently consults her whenever his own artwork hits a really frustrating bottleneck. And she always delivers the absolute perfect advice. It benefits his progress immensely. Their hobbies and artistic interests just align perfectly. It is a fantastic match. They chat effortlessly. Hanging out with her is incredibly relaxed and super easy. But let's be real, you and I know he still checks WeChat to torture himself. Just to test his own endurance, Khloe has completely changed from her icy self. Now she practically flaunts her happy new life online every single day. Look. If it isn't cute couple drinks, it is a romantic, hand-holding date, pure agony. Wave after wave of intense PDA, Lance just wants that promised sweet and sour pork. Maya promised the dish to cheer him up, but her return date gets delayed. Over and over again, he eventually just eats it twice with his college roommates instead. When summer vacation hits, she doesn't call him, and he doesn't bother her either. He straps on his heavy backpack and embarks on the long journey home entirely alone. He is getting used to life without Khloe, slowly learning to grow up on his own. His red-eye flight lands, and he arrives home just past 6 a.m., barely any time. No time to chat with his parents. He showers quickly and dives straight into bed. Just catching up on lost sleep, he wakes from a totally chaotic dream around noon. His mom is already bringing hot, cooked dishes to the table, spotting him finally awake. She waves him over. He asks for cold noodles later, but his mom shakes her head. His auntie is treating everyone out tonight. The cold noodles will just have to wait. They head to a newly opened private kitchen nearby. Lance arrives a little bit late. Stepping inside, he spots only one empty seat left. Khloe immediately calls him out loudly, calling him a toddler while the whole family waits, before Lance can even sit down. He looks up, ready to fire back a sarcastic reply, but then he completely freezes. A familiar face hits his vision like a sharp knife. The pain is absolutely suffocating. He can hardly breathe. It is Chad. Half a year later, the guy looks seriously mature. And his eyes swirling with an undeniable, rock-solid tenderness as he looks right at Khloe. Khloe leans against Chad's arm, wearing a shy smile. He holds her hand so tightly. They are incredibly intimate, without a single sliver of space between them. It burns him. His eyes sting, his heart shatters. She actually brought Chad back to meet the parents. Every past memory Lance shared with Khloe, memories he thought were exclusively his own, comes to a violent, screeching halt right here. They no longer mean a single thing. You and I both know that gut-wrenching feeling. Lance is totally lost right now, broken. His aunt enthusiastically breaks the awful silence, telling him to sit and pick his food. He collapses into his seat, completely dazed, sitting right across from him, the happy couple. Just looking at that sweetly huddled couple, our guy Lance wanted to gouge his eyes out. Khloe looked at Chad with absolute adoration in her eyes. She introduced Lance as the neighbor, the brother she always talked about, Lance Harper. Then she introduced her new boyfriend. His name was Chad. Of course, Lance recognized the guy. They were classmates in the same grade. The transfer student from out of town, basically the undisputed school heartthrob, his gentle, delicate vibe and Lance's rough, careless personality were just totally worlds apart. Girls naturally gravitated toward his type. On that point alone, Lance truly couldn't even compete with Chad. What could Lance do? He just stood there smiling like an idiot. Khloe warned Lance that Chad was super introverted. She told him to play nice, no bullying. They had known each other for 19 years. Khloe definitely knew exactly what kind of person Lance was, yet here she was, discreetly warning him in front of everyone's watchful eyes, treating him like some venomous snake. Lance really wasn't that kind of guy, but he was honestly crushed. It seemed like Khloe's parents already knew all about the Messy situation with Chad's family. They were clearly unhappy once the banquet started. They just kept putting food in Lance's bowl, completely ignoring Chad. Chad looked a bit totally lost and awkward at the table. Khloe just kept comforting him in a low, quiet voice. Lance's parents stayed out of it, knowing this was entirely the Weaver family's private business, making it awkward to intervene. As for our guy Lance, from the very moment the food arrived, he focused his entire attention on the meal. Once he was practically done eating, he put down his chopsticks and finally went to a small balcony outside for some fresh air. He just couldn't stomach watching them show off all that sickening affection. The balcony itself was tiny, and the spot was perfectly hidden. Lance tucked himself away in the corner. It wasn't easy to spot him. Not long after, a sudden flurry of chaotic, quick footsteps stopped right outside that balcony. Not wanting to get caught, Lance quickly and completely soundlessly shuffled further into the shadows. Khloe, what exactly is so amazing about Chad that makes you so stubbornly dead set on him? When you finally graduate college and join a state enterprise, they run a background check. With his messy family history, how will that ever work out? How does he even compare to Lance? Why do you insist on choosing him? Lance was totally stunned. It was actually Khloe and her mom. He desperately wanted to leave right then. This was Weaver family drama after all. As an outsider, it wasn't safe for him to hear this much. Unfortunately, the tiny balcony was a total dead end. Short of jumping off the edge, Lance was trapped until the mother and daughter left. Khloe was clearly just insanely in love with Chad. She completely disregarded everything, keeping her voice low to furiously argue with her mom. From Lance's hiding spot, Chad stood to the side, looking completely helpless, though a polite smile hung on his face. That smile inexplicably carried a heavy trace of inferiority. For a split second, Lance genuinely felt a bit of sympathy for the guy. Honestly, what did he even do wrong? His parents' messy drama had absolutely nothing to do with him. He just met a girl he liked and wanted to protect her. That was it. As for the complicated, messy history between Lance and Khloe, that truly had nothing to do with them. Taking it a step further, honestly, neither Khloe nor Chad were actually in the wrong. They just wanted the life they liked. We've all been there. Lance just laughed bitterly at himself. Why could he find perfect justifications for everybody else, but absolutely couldn't save himself? Outside, Khloe clearly couldn't control her emotions anymore. Her voice, the argument echoed loudly. Mom, can't you think about me for a second? The guy I actually like is Chad. Only by being with him will I be happy, no matter how good Lance is. He's just a neighbor. Seriously, he's just the brother from next door. I don't like Lance, not now, and it is completely impossible for me to ever like him. You and I both know that stings. Lance felt a heavy weight smash down on his head. Emotions just kept welling up deep inside him. His nose stung intensely. Lance swayed, barely even able to stand up straight. His heavy heart ached like it was going to split open. Lance couldn't bear to listen anymore, because he simply didn't know what other life-shattering, agonizing things Khloe would actually say if he continued to stay hidden. Khloe's mom was absolutely furious, her face completely pale. She raised her hand, ready to slap her. Lance stepped out from the balcony and grabbed her mom's arm. Her mom's face instantly changed. She grabbed his hand right back. Her lips trembled, unable to speak a single word. The intense guilt in her eyes was like seawater, completely drowning him. Khloe turned to look at Lance. Her icy gaze was freezing cold, making his broken heart tremble even more. Lance honestly didn't know where that intense coldness in her eyes came from, or why it was aimed at him. He gave a self-deprecating smile, gently patting her mom's hand to soothe her emotions. Auntie, listen, I don't like Khloe and she doesn't like me either. It's totally impossible for us to be together. Plus, I already have someone I really like. We are doing perfectly fine. Download the Shuki Novels app. Search Forget the Chills for the full story. He finally let it go. 20 years of youth just fed to the dogs. That night, Lance lay in his bed, unable to fall asleep for hours. The tight pain in his chest kept Spreading right before midnight, Khloe sent him a WeChat message. Hey, do you really have a girlfriend? Who is it? Lance stared at the phone screen unblinking. For a really long time, until his eyes got sore. It's not you anyway, why do you even care? Lance put his phone on silent and tossed it to the bed's edge. He never replied. The next morning, sporting massive dark bags under his eyes, Lance invited a few high school buddies to go mountain climbing. After yesterday's massive disaster, he really didn't want to see Khloe, but their houses were way too close. If he wanted to avoid her completely, he had to hide outside. That was Lance's whole original plan for hiking. By the time he cleaned himself up and opened his front door, coincidentally, Khloe was linking arms with Chad. Now watch this terrible luck, her door was wide open. Talk about terrible luck, running into them again. Lance gave a simple greeting, really not planning to chat at all. Pretty punctual. Let's go. Chad called a car downstairs. Lance was completely stunned. You guys are coming too, otherwise what? Let you go hike and play all by yourself. Khloe looked at Lance sideways. The teasing implication in her eyes was just extremely thick. Lance just felt his own heart turn completely icy cold. We're going climbing. Can't you just give me a moment of peace? What could Lance do? He literally initiated this whole activity. If he bailated now, those animals would definitely just storm his house. Honestly, if there hadn't been other people standing around, Lance truly would have just slapped himself right in the face. He went out to avoid them, yet somehow ended up dragging them right under his own nose. Lance was literally asking for torture here. A few buddies were waiting at the foot of the mountain. They were all guys Lance usually hung out with. This was their first real get-together since summer vacation finally started. Guy friendships are simple and pure. They threw their arms around each other's. His friends bumped shoulders, laughing and shouting, having a blast. They all knew the messy history between Lance and Khloe. Before, they always used to joke that those two were the golden couple. In everyone's eyes, Lance was supposed to be with Khloe, but seeing Khloe holding another guy's hand right in front of him, man, they were completely confused. They kept shooting Lance glances. That fire of gossip was burning fiercely. Seriously, what could he say? Admit his massive crush was totally one-sided. Say that she only ever saw him as a brother. Lance could not say a thing. He just smiled bitterly. Khloe, your new boyfriend, why don't you introduce him to the guys? Khloe blushed, smiling shyly. Since when did you get a boyfriend anyway? Does it have anything to do with that 1-2 whatever math score? Jake was a straight shooter, completely ignoring Lance's desperate hints. He just yelled it out at the top of his lungs. Lance's feelings for Khloe, these bros knew perfectly well. That whole incident back then where Lance was publicly scolded by her, they were all in the know. They even scolded Khloe back for several days because of it. Listen, this guy Jake was fiercely protective of his friends. He must have been trying to seek some rough justice for Lance. Lance smiled helplessly. Jake was really bringing up the exact topic they absolutely shouldn't even touch. Khloe looked visibly displeased. Ben, who stood closest, relying on his tall height and long arms, firmly clamped a hand over Jake's mouth. Stop talking nonsense, just hurry up and climb the mountain. Honestly, mountain climbing is pure physical labor. It is not exactly suited for these guys who just gnaw on books since childhood. They only made it halfway up the mountain before everyone was completely exhausted. Sitting under the shade of a big tree to cool off, they all surrounded Lance. They looked like they wanted to speak but hesitated. That specific look of wanting to talk but being terrified of hurting him was both funny and honestly heartwarming. Luckily, Lance had them today. Otherwise, he would have been absolutely destroyed like a stray dog. By Khloe, Lance sighed. I will only say this once. Nobody asks any more after this. That arranged marriage thing back then, just a silly joke. By the older generation, she has always seen me as a brother. I was the one who totally misunderstood. Chad is the guy she actually likes. What about you, Lance? Don't tell us your feelings for her were fake. Lance smiled bitterly. How could they be fake? For Khloe, I almost lost myself completely, but You just can't force love. She is her, I am me, if you guys can't stand to see me single. If you have any single female cousins at home, you can just introduce them to me. Lance, you must be dying inside, right? He turned to stare at a tiny daisy blooming in the distance for a very long time. It will pass. The boys let out a massive collective sigh, sighing over the complete unpredictability of the world and the fickleness of human hearts. Then, with high spirits, they declared that after heading back, they would cast a wide net. Focus on the real prize, swearing to find Lance a girlfriend 100 times better than Khloe. He could not argue with them, so he just let them talk nonsense. They finally reached the mountain peak. The guys clamored to go to the only shop around to grab some shaved ice. With one glance, Lance spotted Khloe and Chad, who had somehow gotten up there first, holding a box of raspberries, sitting on a bench under a tree, feeding each other one single berry at a time, the two of them locking eyes. Constantly, a gaze full of unbearable affection. Lance's heart instantly tightened. All right, we're jumping right into it. Lance felt sourer than fresh raspberries. Not wanting to torture himself, he just turned away. Ben closely followed. Ben couldn't keep his mouth shut. Khloe is completely heartless and totally blind. She will absolutely regret this soon. That new guy Chad, definitely bad news. With your honest, trusting personality, how could you ever deal with him? Ben's face was flushed with pure anger. Lance didn't even interrupt him. He just waited out the long rant, calmly saying he and Khloe were totally ancient history. Never bring her up again. Ben just gritted his teeth, listing out his buddy's flaws. He hated that Lance wasn't tougher about the breakup. Our guy just lacked the energy to even argue back. Lance stood off to the side, quietly listening to him, handing over some water. Then Jake called, said the guys had just found a massive peach tree sticking straight out of a steep cliff face, absolutely loaded with fruit. He wanted them to see it. Sure, normal peach trees exist everywhere, but one growing right out of a steep cliff face, totally wild. Lance and Ben hurried over to look. Over on the sunny eastern slope, there really was an absolutely massive tree, growing diagonally from the sheer rock, packed full of big and small sweet peaches. The heavy branches sagged downward. Lance spotted one branch right beside the edge. It looked like a super easy grab. His adventurous side totally took over him. So he climbed the safety railing, completely ignoring his buddies yelling to stop. He reached out for that sweet peach. Now here is where things go horribly wrong. Maybe the old railing was just rusty, or his luck was completely running out fast. A sudden wave of dizziness hit him, and Lance tumbled headfirst off the steep cliff. Guess it wasn't his time to die today. In that terrifying split second, he reached out and desperately grabbed a sturdy vine. That wild catch finally stopped his deadly fall, leaving him hanging in midair. Jake and the others screamed frantically from up above. His ears were completely ringing. Lance couldn't hear a single coherent word. Luckily, this tourist spot had a dedicated rescue team stationed right on the mountain. Help arrived super fast. By the time two guys pulled Lance up from the drop, Khloe was holding Chad's hand, running toward him fast. Lance, how on earth could you be so careless? Are you hurt badly? Since he was dressed for summer hiking in a basic shirt and shorts, his exposed arms and legs were completely covered in brutal scrapes and fresh blood. Honestly, the gnarly sight even scared Lance himself. The open wounds burned like crazy. Pure terror and that heavy lingering dread completely overwhelmed his mind, so much that he couldn't even answer Khloe's frantic questions. Then Chad squatted between them, smoothly blocking the arm she was extending out toward Lance, gently comforting her instead. Khloe, relax, Lance is going to be perfectly fine. He had just survived absolute mortal danger. The sheer freezing terror of almost dying completely surrounded him. Lance felt freezing cold, shivering violently like a leaf. He didn't want to watch them awkwardly flexing their brand new romance right there. So he just shut his eyes. His buddies saw him shivering, their faces changed instantly, crying out to the heavens, asking what was wrong. By the time the Crew carried him down the steep mountain. A loud ambulance was already waiting. The loyal bros sat beside him in back. Sirens blared as they sped fast toward the local hospital. From the exact moment they carried him down to loading him inside, you know what? Khloe held Chad's hand the entire time. Time trailing behind them. You and I can see only his loyal bros from the past. Right then, his heart just turned completely cold. The ambulance finally stopped. At the hospital entrance, he watched his parents sprint over like absolutely crazy people. Seeing their tear-filled eyes, man, his heart completely ached. He had run off for peace and quiet, all because of Khloe. She completely ignored his injuries, but his own parents were crying their eyes out for him. Thank God he still had them around. It wasn't like nobody cared about him. He ended up in that hospital for 4 long days. His parents stayed right by his side, caring for him nonstop. Khloe's parents, the Weavers, visited every single day, dropping off fruits and warm meals. They went through so much trouble. He actually felt embarrassed and his heart ached for them, but he totally understood their real intention. They were trying to make up for his suffering. As for Khloe, she fully knew he was injured, yet she never visited him, not even once. If he said he wasn't disappointed, yeah, that would be a lie. On day 3 of his hospital stay at noon, he had just woken up from a nap. That's when he heard muffled arguing at this door. Those voices, extremely familiar. It was Khloe and Chad, separated by the heavy door. He couldn't hear perfectly, but it seemed Khloe wanted to visit him, and Chad flat out refused. The two stood right outside his ward, bickering back and forth. Honestly, he was getting discharged tomorrow anyway. Whether she actually came to see him or not was totally irrelevant now. If her visiting him was just going to make Chad jealous, it was honestly better she stayed away. Listening to their drama, he fell back asleep until his mom finally pushed the door open. He woke up super groggy. This whole injury had honestly scared him to death. The doctors kept pumping him with sedatives, which basically made him crash out constantly. The ward looked the exact same, and Khloe, she ultimately never showed up. His mom asked why his expression looked so weird. He just smiled, saying it was nothing. Now watch this. On discharge day, both families showed up in full force, creating a massive crowd that packed the ward. Uncle and Auntie Weaver carefully gathered his belongings. His mom gently helped him get dressed, while his dad half knelt on the floor, tying his shoelaces. Just a room full of loud, bustling chaos, but his heart totally warm. Sure, romantic love failed him, but he still had this deep, unconditional family love. He was actually incredibly rich in what mattered. Meanwhile, Khloe stood far away beside a very unhappy Chad. Several times she wanted to step in and help, but she couldn't. She just stood there, keeping him company instead. Occasionally, she would steal a quick glance over at him, her gaze definitely carrying a real hint of concern, but most of the time, she was just whispering to Chad in a low voice, and Chad kept shooting absolute daggers at our guy, his face screaming pure jealousy. Our guy figured Auntie Weaver had probably forced Khloe to come pick him up. Chad hated it, but the guy didn't dare to refuse her parents, so he threw a quiet tantrum with Khloe instead. Anyway, the injuries he suffered that day were mostly superficial, plus severe shock. When he was finally discharged, the doctor confirmed his physical wounds were fine. He just needed to rest quietly for a few days, mostly just to recover his mental energy. That insane fall off the cliff had basically scared his mom's soul straight out of her body. Every day she held his hand, muttering that surviving a disaster like that meant he was destined for great fortune. She memorized the doctor's instructions word for word and firmly executed them once they got home, throwing in plenty of her own remedies too. She even took time off work to personally attend to him at home. He couldn't even argue with his mom. I was stuck in bed every single day. Mom spoon-fed me like some helpless prize pig. Eat, sleep, repeat. I was so insanely bored I was practically growing mold. Then one afternoon, my mom's office called out of nowhere. There was an urgent emergency that totally needed her immediate attention to handle. the old lady jammed her tiny purse tightly under her arm and bolted out the door like a whirlwind. Before leaving, she handed me safety checklist of basically 500 words. I nodded and agreed to every single one, waiting patiently until her footsteps completely vanished down the hallway. I jumped up in a flash and excitedly jogged a few quick laps around the house, having laid down for over 10 days. If I didn't stretch my body, my legs were definitely going to just atrophy. Right when I was finally having fun, Khloe called me. I instantly calmed down, frowning hard, debating whether I should even answer. After her cold indifference when I almost died, my utter disappointment in her had reached a completely new level. These past few days, while I was recovering at home, she actually had stopped by a few times to drop off food, stuff her mom cooked to help me heal up. My mom politely accepted the dishes, but I barely touched them. Several times, Khloe asked to come into my room to check on me. My mom firmly blocked her, using the excuse that I was fast asleep. Khloe begged, "Auntie, I just want to peek in and take one quick look." "I won't do anything. We literally shared a bed as kids." I truly see Lance as my own biological brother, but my mom didn't even blink an eye. She just replied, "You said it yourself. That was childhood. It is fine. When kids do not know better, but now you are grown and you have a boyfriend, so you should keep your distance to avoid rumors." See, the day I returned, I warned my mom that Chad was already furious when Khloe rushed to the hospital to pick me up. If she entered my bedroom now and Chad found out, it was extremely likely those two would end up fighting again. I absolutely refused to be the spark that triggered their relationship drama. I just wanted to stay far away from them, ever since that nasty incident. Even though my mom's friendship with Auntie had not been ruined, she definitely held some harsh opinions about Khloe herself. Honestly, my parents had already started looking at houses in another neighborhood entirely. It was only because I desperately begged them that they finally dropped the whole moving idea. I did not want my mom to leave her home, but she always assumed I did it because I was still hung up on Khloe. She was visibly annoyed about that for a while, so when I finally proposed cutting ties with Khloe, my mom proudly supported me, blocking her with military-level precision and efficiency. When facing Khloe now, my mom showed zero mercy. I swear, if she was not trying to save Auntie's pride, my mom would have yelled in front of an entire crowd of people, "You crushed every single shred of dignity my precious son had left. Why should I tolerate you? You think my boy cannot survive without you." And honestly, my mom was totally right. I did love her once, but she was not essential to my life anymore. Eventually, I would break free from these old feelings entirely and find a girl who actually values me. I laid at home for 5 full days. Khloe had not even touched the doorknob of my bedroom. I thought she finally got the message, but now she was calling my phone. I hesitated on whether to reject it, but guess what? My thumb accidentally swiped open the phone screen lock right then. Khloe's voice came through the speaker crystal clear. "Lance, open the door." Her tone was exactly the same as always, still carrying that slight hint of arrogance, carrying a bit of serious bossiness. You know, he absolutely hated her tone. His own tone wasn't great either. "I came to see you. I am worried. I tried a few times, but your mom wouldn't let me in. I've been thinking about you. I saw your mom just leave the house. Hurry up and open the door and let me in. My wounds hurt. I can't get up." Lance lied. He stood right by the door. Through the peephole, he clearly saw a bit of pure impatience on her face. "Take your time getting up," she said. "I'm not rushing. I'll wait at the door. Whenever you open it, I go in." Seeing her so insanely persistent, Lance knew keeping it shut and ignoring her wouldn't be great either. Thinking about it, our guy figured he would just let her in. He slowly walked over, opened the door, and instantly regretted everything. He totally thought she was alone, but nope, Chad was hunched over, hiding right behind her. Looking at their two hands glued together, Lance's head spun and throbbed. He secretly cursed his own hand for opening that door, even though He was practically turning green with regret, since they were already standing there. He couldn't exactly slam it shut. "You're here, please come in," he very purposely used the word please. Khloe shot him a quick glare, holding Chad's hand. She turned sideways and squeezed past him, carelessly plopping right down on the sofa. Chad sat closely beside her. Those two were like conjoined dolls, absolutely no space between them. Lance couldn't help but complain crazily in his head. "I know you guys are in love, but is it seriously necessary to show it off to me every single second?" But outwardly, he still politely went to the kitchen to cut some fruit for his unexpected guests. "Lance, I found out too late the day you fell off the cliff. I didn't make it in time to save you. I am sorry. It wasn't your responsibility anyway. Why apologize? It is fine," Lance replied. "I knew the handsome Lance Harper is super magnanimous. You definitely wouldn't be mad at me," she smiled. "My mom forced me to come anyway. She said if I didn't get your forgiveness, she wouldn't want me as a daughter anymore. I was completely forced, no other choice." Lance smiled, completely speechless. "I really do not blame you. If needed, I can personally go explain it to Auntie Mina." "Lance, your house is really pretty." This was Chad's first time at his house, curiously looking around everywhere. "Yeah, my mom designed it. She is an interior designer, pretty well known in the industry." Lance walked out carrying the fruit platter, placed it on the coffee table right in front of the sofa, used a small fork to stab a piece, and handed it to Chad. Then stabbed a piece for himself and popped it in his mouth. Chilled fruit eaten in the middle of summer was truly satisfying to the extreme, especially for a lazy guy like him who had been overwhelmed by his mom. He hadn't eaten something so refreshing in many days. Khloe stared fixedly up at him. He didn't understand what she meant, making it so even the fruit in his mouth wasn't sweet anymore. "What are you looking at? Are you sick?" he asked her, genuinely puzzled. "Where is my fruit, Lance? My dear classmate, is this how you treat your younger sister?" Lance was completely speechless. "Did you not grow hands? Can you not grab it yourself? Still waiting for me to feed you like before? You even know where our family's bank book is. Why are you pretending to be a guest?" He swore when he said those words. It was completely unintentional. He was just casually chatting with them. Absolutely zero other meaning. But Chad's face changed very quickly. The guy suddenly seemed somewhat. Chad looked furious, petty, and entirely jealous. "Lance, is your family very rich, telling outsiders exactly where your bank books are? Aren't you afraid of getting robbed?" Lance just shrugged it off. He was simply using an analogy to explain how well Khloe knew his house. As for their bank book, Lance himself had no clue where it was. Khloe definitely didn't either, but you and I know. The question Chad just asked was super revealing. While this guy was obsessing over Lance's family wealth, he was also indirectly throwing shade at Khloe's overall character. Lance was stunned. This guy truly had twisted logic. His dad is a middle school teacher, his mom is a designer, the income is decent, their family's living situation wasn't considered wealthy, just totally average really. What was that phrase his mom always used? Worse than the best, better than the worst. Lance was telling the pure truth. Absolutely no exaggeration or fluff. It's just casual chatting, saying whatever comes to mind. Chad's expression darkened. He grabbed Khloe's hand, still faking that gentle boyfriend routine. "Actually, lacking massive wealth is pretty great too." Chad claimed that super wealthy families are always miserable. If siblings aren't fighting for inheritance, husbands and wives are constantly fighting, destined for inevitable divorce. "Chad, my incredibly dear classmate, are you implying my mom and dad will definitely divorce soon?" The second Lance heard that, he was furious. Wasn't this blatantly cursing his family? Even Khloe felt things were getting inappropriate. She nervously squeezed Chad's hand. "Don't talk nonsense. Uncle and Auntie's relationship is very good." Chad absolutely did shake off her hand. Instead, he pulled Khloe close, turning his arrogant head, and glared at Lance provocatively. "I didn't mean it that way. Khloe, you're totally overthinking me." watching these two put on a whole drama show, you and I. No, Lance just wanted to grab a broom and literally sweep them outside, go home. Lock the door and kiss. Why run to his house pretending to be the big bad? Wolf, Chad's insult was deeply calculated, even someone as entirely chill as Lance understood it perfectly. There was absolutely zero chance Khloe missed it. She was simply playing dumb to protect her boyfriend. Think about it, Chad knew Khloe was right there, meaning Lance couldn't touch him, so he purposefully came to his house just to pick a fight. Over the last 2 years, Lance stayed quiet, mainly because he was just too lazy to argue, but that definitely did not prove. Lance was a pushover. Back then, when Khloe bullied him, he had zero choice. Who told him to pathetically crush on her? But who on earth was Chad? Who gave this guy the right to barge into Lance's house acting like a total boss? You really think Khloe is your steel armor, making you totally invulnerable to everything? Download Shuki novels today. Search Forget the Chills for full episodes. Lance finally let his old feelings go. Consider 20 years of youth completely fed to the dogs. Then you don't know. My parents' relationship is absolutely rock solid. Plus, I am the only child here. Every good thing belongs solely to me. Honestly, even if I wanted to find someone to fight over property with, I literally couldn't. Isn't this just acting like a green tea, bro? Everyone knows how to play that game. Lance, you completely misunderstood. I didn't mean what you just said. Khloe was simply worried about you, so I came along for the visit. I truly meant nothing else by it. You are overthinking. Perhaps Lance's harsh words struck right at Chad's sore spot. The guy looked at Lance aggrievedly, acting completely victimized. All right, let's look closer. Chad couldn't stand seeing Lance's family doing so well. Our guy just didn't care. Chad's family was going through a massive crisis anyway, but he shouldn't have ever brought Lance's parents into this. How could our MC let someone slander the very people who raised him? Khloe stared at Lance in total, absolute surprise. She probably thought he was just a total coward with zero temper. Honestly, the old Lance was famously nice, especially whenever he dealt with Khloe. He really was completely obedient to her. Seeing Khloe stay quiet, Chad suddenly acted incredibly humiliated. Lance, please don't be like this. I really didn't mean anything by it. I just wanted to visit. If you hate me, I'll just leave. Right now, Lance was absolutely disgusted by Chad's fake, hypocritical act. Khloe, thanks for stopping by. You guys can leave now. I'm exhausted and I want to rest for a bit. Lance coldly issued the eviction order. Khloe's expression instantly darkened. Dark waves surged in her eyes. She glared right at Lance, clearly furious that he was kicking them out. Lance, we came here out of the goodness of our hearts. What is wrong with you? If you look down on Chad, then we'll just stay away from you from now on. That second half was aimed at Lance. He was instantly exasperated. Her little performance right here actually gave him a whole new understanding of her. Since the moment they walked in, Chad had been secretly and deliberately taking cheap shots at our MC. Chad provoked him. First, all right, Khloe was smart. Lance didn't believe for a second she missed it. He barely fired back, yet in her eyes, it magically turned into him bullying Chad. Then what about what he said? Did my parents deserve to be mocked by him? Are you totally deaf? Couldn't you hear how he talked about my mom and dad? I get you being biased, but there has to be a limit, right? I don't care what you guys say about me. That's fine, but talking about my parents is absolutely unacceptable. I'm done arguing. Hurry up and get out. If you have nothing important, don't come back. Khloe froze, her eyes completely filled with utter disbelief. Chad panicked. Khloe, I really didn't mean that. Lance misunderstood me. You must believe me, believe his foot. Lance looked speechlessly at the ridiculous farce playing out right in front of him. You and I would regret opening that door too. Lance, the way Chad talked about your parents was indeed thoughtless of him, but he has always been clumsy with words, never meaning any actual harm. Why do you have to be so insanely unforgiving over tiny details? Putting the facts aside, are you completely faultless here? you knew his family went through a massive, terrible ordeal. With his parents splitting up, yet you bragged right to his face about how amazing your life is. Aren't you just poking his open wounds, Lance? How did you turn into this kind of person? That evaluation fell just short of calling Lance pure evil. He was so angry he actually laughed. Was this still the Khloe he'd known for 19 years, a hypocrite and a lapdog, perfect match for eternity? Khloe. I'm done wasting breath on you two. I'm exhausted. Please, both of you get the heck out of my house, thanks. Khloe yanked Chad by the hand and stormed out. Before fully stepping out, Chad looked back and shot Lance a glance. The smugness in his eyes was blindingly obvious. Lance found it absolutely hilarious to witness. Acting fearless, but you and I know karma is coming. 2 days later, Jake and Ben came looking for him. His mom reluctantly let him go out for some fresh air at last, but the second Lance steps out, his mom is right there, trailing right behind. Do not do this, do not do that, listing an endless string of taboos. He grabs his friends and bolts down the stairs without even casting a single glance back, sprinting toward that bright blue sky, completely leaving behind his mom scolding. Now watch this. Saturday, Khloe suddenly appears, knocking at his door. Lance definitely refuses to see her. That previous incident, it is still way too fresh, but his mom is too quick and swings the door wide, asking what she wants. Khloe cranes her neck, peeking inside the house. Lance is just lounging on the sofa, watching variety shows and laughing his absolute head off. She frowns at him, then quickly relaxes, flashing a huge smile. She says she wants to treat him to hot pot. His mom hesitates for a second, but ultimately lets her inside, leaving them to chat alone. There is this brand new hot pot spot on the main street, super spicy, super fresh. The flavor is absolutely unreal. Go change my treat. But Lance is lazy, zero desire to move. He shakes his head firmly. No way. Now, if she had actually asked him out back in his massive simp days, the guy would have absolutely been thrilled to death. But after everything that went down, Lance just wants to stay far away. Stick with me here. For the past year, whenever he hangs with her, something definitely goes wrong. Pure bad luck. Honestly, she is basically a walking jinx. His injuries from that cliff fall finally healed up. He definitely refuses to end up back in the hospital, no matter how hard Khloe tries to persuade him. Lance just violently shakes his head, completely refusing to cooperate. Come on, Lance, do me a favor. Take this as my apology for what happened last time. What is there to apologize for? He keeps his eyes glued right to the TV, ignoring her. Chad was absolutely wrong that day, and he has thin skin, so she apologizes for him. Words are cheap but hot. Pot is solid proof. She is sincere. Khloe really has changed completely since getting together with Chad. The old Khloe barely talked, basically mute half the time, and she never used playful lines like this. Oh, that incident, he tells her he forgot. No apology needed, but she refuses to accept that, reminding him they grew up together. She claims she knows him better than he knows himself. He cannot hide whether he is lying or telling the truth. She knows he is just blaming her, refusing to forgive her entirely. She begs him not to judge her bias. She cannot let Chad be sad, but right is right and wrong is wrong. So to prove forgiveness, he needs to eat hot pot with her. Lance still shakes his head, rejecting her. Khloe immediately starts lecturing him on life philosophies, just chanting away like a monk, giving Lance a massive headache. Left with zero options, he changes his clothes to go with her. Just a simple hot pot meal. Could she eat him alive? Right. Before they leave, his mom shoves an umbrella into his hand, looking pretty unhappy, reminding him to be back early. The weather is looking pretty grim and totally overcast, like it might actually pour. His body just recovered. Getting caught in the rain could bring a nasty cold. Khloe desperately promises she will take excellent care of him. Only then does his mom finally crack a smile. Now the two of them walk shoulder to shoulder down the street, casually chatting about absolutely pointless things. The path here is super narrow. Plus, little kids are running around playing everywhere. You and I can see they were walking entirely too close. Lance intentionally dropped back. Behind her, creating some distance, Khloe immediately turned around, shooting him a totally displeased look. He just casually looked away, completely calm, keeping his exact pace. Staying exactly one step behind, they arrived at a fiery hot pot spot named Boiling Point. Khloe immediately grabbed a cozy window booth where the sweeping view was absolutely gorgeous. Through the glass, they could watch the bustling city life passing by. Outside, almost as soon as they sat down, heavy rain started pouring. Lance was so incredibly thankful his mom packed an umbrella, otherwise he'd be completely soaked right now. Khloe ordered a split pot loaded with extra side dishes. Dropping everything into the broth, once it cooked, she scooped the food out and placed it onto his plate. Lance quickly threw his arm up to block her, face slightly flushed red. Eat your own food, I've got mine. Khloe glanced at her chopsticks. Instantly understanding, a small smile appeared. What, are you seriously disgusted? I'm not. Using separate serving chopsticks, back as kids, we literally stole milk powder with the exact same spoon. We polished off half the bag together. I never saw you acting so embarrassed back then. Lance fired back. Correcting your childhood mistakes is actually a virtue, she sighed. Lance, could you please drop that passive-aggressive tone? Honestly, you act so painfully distant now. Are you even the same Lance I remember? When did you change so much? Just eat. It'll get totally ruined if it overcooks. Lance grabbed some greens with his chopsticks, taking a quick bite. Honestly, the flavor was actually pretty amazing. She flashed this absolutely brilliant smile, quickly pulling back her chopsticks, stuffing vegetables into her cheeks, and burying her face to keep eating intensely. But Lance, zero appetite here. He just took a few symbolic bites of the greens, set his chopsticks down, and silently waited for her to finally finish up. As she wrapped up her meal, she completely froze, shot him a glance, grabbed a napkin, and boldly reached over to wipe an oil stain off his face. Since the Mid-Autumn Festival years ago, they had never shared a moment this close again. Her touch was way too sudden. He reacted with lightning speed, jerking his whole body backward to dodge it. Her hand froze. Smiling awkwardly, she withdrew. The hot pot date was officially over. Just say whatever you came to say, Lance demanded. She frowned, her eyes flashing with some incredibly complex, heavy emotion. Look, Lance, she started. What happened recently was totally Chad's fault. I'm sincerely apologizing to you for him. He took a massive hit because of his dad's situation. He's acting incredibly sensitive right now. Chad and I grew up together. We share a deep bond. Moving forward, we're basically family, so I want— She suddenly paused. Lance just stared, absolutely dying to know where this was going. Want what exactly? I want you to please, just for my sake, watch your tone around him. Cut the guy some slack. Please don't purposely provoke him anymore. Lance actually laughed out loud. So this was her big apology meal, and he'd actually bought it. You and I both know he felt completely stupid treating him to dinner. Yeah, right. She just weaponized this entire hot pot date as an excuse to interrogate him, begging Lance not to hurt her precious little sweetheart's feelings. Sure, he could totally play nice. Instead, Lance let out a freezing cold snort. That's your fragile boyfriend, Khloe, not mine. I have zero obligation to baby him. You were literally standing right there. He was the one intentionally trying to provoke me first. Why shouldn't I fight back? When he starts drama, it's just because he's all right. Let's watch Lance snap. He tells her defending his family means he gets dragged here for a fake apology just to sit and listen to her lecture. He asks if Khloe is completely blind. Her face instantly drops in total shock. She stares back dumbfounded, total disbelief. She clearly didn't expect him to react this intensely. After all, his whole life, Lance had basically obeyed her every single word, arguing back with straight logic. That was an absolute first for him. She just looked at him in total silence. Lance just ignores her right back to him. This whole dinner felt entirely meaningless now. He grabs his umbrella, ready to ditch But Khloe is fast. She grabs his sleeve tightly. Lance, I am so sorry. Please don't rush off. We haven't talked like this in such a long time. Just sit and chat, she begs. Whenever she brings up their past, Lance's heart always softens up. Seeing his expression relax, Chloe's eyes immediately flash with pure joy. She lets go, curling her lips into a sweet smile. But get this, they don't talk about anything special after that. It's mostly her rambling while he just listens. She goes on about college, bragging about how sweet her romance with Chad is. She talks all about their future plans, laying out her perfect vision for them. She names a ton of people, but guess who is completely left out? Lance. Yeah, this dinner, absolutely miserable, and when they finally head out, it's raining even harder. Thick black clouds press down. Lance remembers the massive storm warning from earlier. He instantly regrets leaving the house. Classic bad luck whenever he hangs around her. Nothing good ever happens, and to make things worse, they only have one tiny, delicate umbrella between them. Now, you and I know that's better than nothing, right? She says if they run super fast, they probably won't get soaked to the bone. Chloe stands at the hot pot exit, completely changing her tune right away. Could I just take the umbrella while you sprint back in the rain? Seriously. She literally snatches his umbrella, pops it open, and drags him right into the heavy downpour. It is an absolute disaster. The rain is way too intense, and the umbrella is tiny. They squeeze tightly together as the brutal wind and rain mercilessly batter them. In seconds, half of their clothes and pants are completely soaked. The deafening rain hammers the umbrella. Lance is breathing in her unique scent, and his heart pathetically starts hammering in his chest. He desperately chants a calming mantra inside his head to stay cool, pulling his body far toward the outer edge. But she holds the umbrella and squeezes right back against him. Don't move around. We will be home soon, she says. They haven't walked far when suddenly someone shouts Chloe's name. Over the massive, deafening noise of the crazy storm, it isn't very clear at first, but it is definitely real. Chloe's entire vibe instantly flips. She shoves the umbrella back into his hand, eyes wide as she frantically searches. Lance, I heard Chad's voice. I didn't mishear that, right? No, it's really him. Lance mutters under his breath. Long time no see. Chad was supposed to be visiting his hometown right now. Instead, he is standing under a small newsstand. On the side of the street, casually holding a massive umbrella, Chloe spots him. Starlight immediately gathers deep within her eyes. This is the big moment. Jumping and bounding like an excited kid, she recklessly rushes into the heavy downpour. Her pure white shoes step into nasty puddles, splashing dirty water absolutely everywhere. Chad. She runs over in pure, ecstatic joy, and Chad pulls her right into his arms. He pulled her close. Khloe was laughing. Lance just stood there, blank in the heavy rain. He didn't even notice his umbrella tilting. Right then, his heart felt way wetter than the pouring sky above. Chad shielded Chloe, both of them running straight through the storm. They left Lance completely behind. Then Chad turned his head and shouted back at him. Lance, we're taking off. Stay safe, Lance. Suppose that counted as caring, right? Yeah, sure. Meanwhile, the wind and rain only grew fiercer. Those dark clouds hung so low, it genuinely felt like they were crushing down right on top of him. Massive puddles flooded the entire street. Above, sudden thunder exploded through the sky, shattering his heart into absolute pieces. And honestly, the massive storm triggered some serious flash flooding. The water had already completely swallowed the sidewalks. Under that murky gray water, it was impossible to see the road at all, or guess what lay beneath. Lance waded carefully into the freezing water, testing every single step, but the wind, brutal, it totally flipped his umbrella completely inside out. He dragged the ruined thing along. It was only a 20-minute walk home, but every step was an absolute fight. Moving just one pace forward meant getting shoved back 2 steps by the sheer force of the storm. That ruined umbrella just became useless weight, so he tossed it. The rain lashed him so hard he couldn't even keep his eyes open. Going purely by instinct, our guy stumbled blindly Toward his house, he kept telling himself he was almost there, just hold on a little bit longer. His parents would be waiting for him, bathed in that warm, cozy orange. Living room glow, but man, by the time Lance realized something was terribly wrong and tried yanking his foot backward, it was way too late. It genuinely felt like some giant, unseen hand inside the swirling water was dragging him under. The whole street spun wildly. He slammed hard onto the ground, completely submerged in filthy floodwater. Above him, the storm poured down like an absolute waterfall. Then it hit him. His mom warned him earlier about an abandoned utility drain right on this road, missing its cover, super dangerous, and thinking about the exact spot she mentioned, Lance was totally sure he had unluckily dropped straight into that open utility drain. It hadn't even been 2 weeks, and our MC was already facing another crazy life or death situation. Last time, he at least had Jake and the boys backing him up, but this time, he was totally alone. The floodwater was rising insanely fast. Lance gritted his teeth through the pain and leaned heavy against the concrete wall just to stand. His right leg, so numb it barely felt attached anymore, and his left arm had somehow caught a brutal, deep slice during the fall, leaving a huge open gash. Dark blood just kept spilling into the water. He gripped that wall, staring blankly. As the water crept higher, pure regret set in. Seriously, Lance, have you honestly never had hot pot before? Was a single meal really worth ending up in this pathetic condition? You and I both know the tragic part. He barely ate 3 bites of that hot pot. And now he was about to literally die in this nasty sewer drain. No way. He refused to just accept that. Is anybody up there? Help. Lance shredded his vocal cords, screaming, completely desperate. Praying some random late-night walker, braving the storm, would catch his voice over the noise and drag him back out. Sure, the odds were insanely low, but Lance wasn't quitting yet. Up on the road, though, besides the shrieking wind, endless rain and thunder, it was completely empty. Fear and panic crept in, so he decided to save himself. He tried jumping a couple of times, desperate to climb out using just his arms, but sadly his wrecked right leg throbbed way too much to push off the wall, right as the water in that trap reached his chest. An old street scavenger finally noticed him. From all right, watch closely. From his tattered raincoat sleeve hung a dim flashlight as he leaned over the manhole's edge, staring down at Lance again and again. Grandpa, please save me, I'm hurt. Lance tilted his head back, desperately begging. Filthy, freezing rain water poured into his mouth, totally foul and bitter. Don't be afraid, I'll go get something to pull you out. The old man vanished, and just like that, the world returned to cold indifference. But our guy believed in that stranger's kindness. He would definitely return, and sure enough, he did. He dropped down a heavy, long roll of thick rope. Young man, tie it tight around your waist. I'll pull you up. Lance desperately secured the heavy rope around himself. Once tied, the old man pulled with absolutely everything he had. Veins bulged on his frail hands while Lance dug his bleeding fingers into the manhole's wet brick crevices, gripping as fiercely as physically possible, trying to lift that dead weight. The two of them struggled several times, but it just wasn't enough to get him out, slipping back down. Again and again, Lance's injuries kept tearing open. The poor kid was completely exhausted. One last push. He summoned every single ounce of strength left in his body. Matching the old man's desperate pull, Lance scrambled up that wall in one explosive burst. He finally saw the familiar street, the relentless pouring rain, and the kind, deeply worried eyes of his rescuer. Then everything spun. Stars exploded in his vision. He forced out a weak thank you before completely sinking into darkness. He then had many strange, vivid dreams. We've all seen trauma linger, right? His mind flashed back to past memories. Fragmented and broken, even in his sleep, Khloe's twisted abuse hurt him enough to make him violently cry. Oh, right, he also dreamt of Maya. She hadn't returned for almost 2 years. Right, it had been so incredibly long that Lance almost forgot she existed. 2 whole years. They only ever exchanged basic holiday greetings. Maya barely even posted online Anymore, Lance had absolutely zero ways of checking up on her life. He truly didn't know what she even looked like now. Was she still the same sweet girl who would bring him candy and cake when he felt sad? That sweet Maya. Back then she was the absolute only warmth in his nightmares. He walked straight down a very bright little path in his mind. Suddenly, a heavy fog rolled in. Lance, come back quickly. He heard his mother's frantic voice. She was begging him to come home. He snapped, his eyes open. The harsh morning sunlight stabbed directly into his pupils. Lance weakly raised an arm to block the glare. Instantly, a warm, heavy hand pressed him. Back down. A voice trembling with pure joy spoke up. Don't move, careful of the blood flow, honey, our boy is awake. Lance finally blinked into focus. His nose was instantly hit with harsh hospital disinfectant. In the clear IV tube hanging right above his head, medicine dripped down fast. He didn't die. Then it all finally clicked. It was that heroic grandpa who saved him. Stick with me, guys, he actually survived. Baby, how are you? Does anything hurt? His mother's totally exhausted but deeply loving face leaned into his view. Mom, Lance whispered softly, slowly raising his shaking hand to touch her cheek. She grabbed it, pressing his fingers tightly against her warm face. Tears of absolute relief poured from her tired eyes. My sweet boy, I'm so glad you're okay. Her shaking voice gradually dropped, finally breaking into a loud, heartbreaking sob. Mom, thought I would never hear your voice again. You can still call me Mom, thank heavens. Mom, don't cry, I'm fine, he gently reassured her. He then turned his head, searching for his dad. Lance, Dad's right. Let's jump in, don't be afraid, Dad is here. His father was leaning over the hospital bed. Lance stared at his dad's face, his heart aching so much he almost cried. Tears? Was this still his usually sharp, handsome dad? The man's hair was a mess, his face completely puffy. Heavy stubble covered his jaw. Honestly, only those warm, familiar eyes carried that fatherly love Lance always knew. His mom told him that when they found him, his body was completely ice cold, not moving. Even his breathing was barely there. She was absolutely terrified. His dad said, we thought we would never see you wake up again. We cried until we had nothing left. Lance looked up at his parents watching over him. Seeing their exhausted faces, he realized he had truly terrified them. Mom, Dad, I am so sorry. This was entirely my fault. It will never happen again. Lance then asked his mom about the old man who saved him. Could they still find him? The second Lance was pulled out that day, he blacked out. Turns out that brave grandpa dragged himself to a nearby shop to borrow a phone and called an ambulance. Then he waited with Lance in the freezing rain for help to arrive. He got Lance to the hospital and even used his few crumpled dollar bills to pay for the emergency meds. Everything was thanks to that old hero, otherwise our son. Before his mom could even finish, she was about to break down again. His dad patted her shoulder, comforting her by saying, our boy is watching. Do not make him sad too. Mom, when I recover, I want to personally go thank that old man. If it was not for him, I might be dead right now. He saved my life. When you heal, we will go thank him together. Dad, how did you guys even know I was in the hospital? Remembering exactly what went down that day, both parents' faces suddenly went totally dark. His usually cheerful mom clenched her jaw, pure anger in her eyes. We are about to see why. That night when his mom noticed it was 9 p.m. and Lance was missing, she called his phone. But he had left it right on the living room sofa. Khloe's phone was completely turned off. His mom said the storm outside was brutal. Sick with worry, she simply had to knock on Khloe's aunt's door to demand answers. But what she saw made her instantly panic. Khloe was chilling, with Chad wrapping one arm around her, casually feeding her fruit with his other hand. When asked where Lance was, Khloe had the nerve to look totally confused. Lance hasn't come back yet. We just parted ways on the street. After forcing her to admit exactly where they split up, his parents rushed out, running without even an umbrella to find him. Later, a pet shop owner mentioned an ambulance had come By recently, apparently, some poor guy fell right into an open utility manhole. They just didn't know if that was the exact person they wanted. By the time his parents rushed over to the hospital, Lance was already lying on an emergency bed, hooked up to an IV drip, with that kind old man standing watch, listening to his parents tell the whole story. Lance just smiled faintly. Right before he could speak, someone knocked directly on his ward door. Predictably, Uncle and Auntie Weaver walked in carrying heavy bags of gifts, followed by a very guilty-looking Khloe. Chad skipped out. Is Lance awake? This entire disaster is Khloe's fault. I dragged her here. Whatever Lance decides to do to her, punish her, scold her. I have zero objections. Honestly, if he goes too easy, I will not even accept it. Noticing Lance was awake, the aunt affectionately touched his face, her eyes swimming with deep guilt and self-blame. Then she set the bags on the She unloads items onto the window sill. Lance's mom immediately walks over, stopping her. She pushes Auntie's hands away, coldly shoving every single item right back into the bags. No need, we aren't lacking anything, she says firmly. Sorry for making you come down. We can take care of Lance ourselves. Please leave. Auntie definitely feels the icy rejection. Her eyes instantly well up with sad tears. Please don't be like this, she drops the bags and forcefully drags Khloe right over to Lance's bed. Hurry up and apologize. Chloe's face looks awful. She completely avoids Lance's gaze, just standing right there, stammering after being dragged over. I'm sorry, I didn't know. Lance shuts her down. Don't. You did nothing wrong. I'm still alive. Just go home. If he hadn't found that kind older man, our MC would literally be a corpse. Can one single apology fix that? Absolutely not. Khloe finally senses his freezing tone. Genuine hurt flashes across her entirely guilt-filled eyes. Lance, you never used to treat me like this before. But Lance just turns his head and closes his eyes. He absolutely refuses to look. The hospital room falls completely dead silent. You can only hear heavy breathing. Uncle Weaver finally speaks up, making Lance suffer such severe injuries this time and almost losing his life. This is completely Chloe's fault. We came to sincerely apologize to you. Lance's normally gentle dad brutally interrupts the man. No politeness at all. His voice is ice cold, carrying a very rare fury. Weaver, Lance already said he totally doesn't blame Khloe, so don't take it to heart. His dad continues. He got incredibly lucky surviving that manhole drop. We are content. The doctor clearly said our boy needs rest. So I won't walk you out. His mom chimes in. Exactly, we'll care for him ourselves. We cannot accept Chloe's empty apology, and honestly, from now on we won't be bothering your family anymore. Lance needs to sleep now. You all should just head right back. Don't come again. Lance's mom has never been this utterly cold before. She did all of this just for him. Lance, Auntie whispers, standing by the foot of his bed. He opens his eyes, flashing her a reassuring smile. Auntie, I am totally fine, really. Uncle Weaver knows the parents are furious. Talking is absolutely useless. He shoots a dark glare at Khloe, turns around and storms out. Auntie quietly tells Lance to heal well, promising to visit him later, but her kindness gets completely shut down by both Lance and his mom. Khloe is the absolute last to leave. Standing by the hospital door, she stares at him for a long time, looking like she desperately wants to speak. Lance pretends he doesn't notice, casually asking for a peeled peach. This right here, the final intersection of their lives. The second he fell down that manhole, their childhood bond came to a complete and total halt. Later, while eating porridge, our MC brings up moving away. His dad reveals they already found a spot. Deposit paid in full. It's a brand new residential complex located a little further away near the city center. The only catch is that construction basically just started. The entire place absolutely won't be finished until next year. Lance feels a twinge of real regret. In his mind, leaving this town immediately would be way better. He ends up staying in the hospital for 10 full days. The nasty scabs on his body are basically healed now, finally returning to his big Comfy bed, no terrifying IV drips hanging above him, and no harsh chemical hospital smells. No more doctors and nurses painfully flipping him over like a total pancake for routine checks. You and I both know the feeling his body finally feels. Extremely comfortable. Around 5 p.m., Auntie actually comes all the way to see him again. First, she drops off 2 massive bags of fruit and snacks before turning back in. Auntie arrived carrying 2 huge plates of steaming, freshly boiled vegetarian dumplings. At that exact moment, you and I see Lance just waking up from his nap, his mom told Auntie he was still asleep. She brushed it off, but he could easily hear the deep regret in her voice. She clearly wanted to see him. Mom and Auntie sat chatting in the living room. Lance's bedroom door was cracked open so he could hear every single word. Auntie immediately brought up the whole Khloe situation, apologizing endlessly to his mom, but his mom insisted she didn't blame her at all. It wasn't her fault, though her tone stayed totally flat. Then she casually mentioned the family had already found a new apartment. It would be fully built by this time next year, and when it was ready, they were leaving. Auntie went dead silent, and then she burst into tears. She said, "Believe it or not, my heart truly breaks for Lance, seeing him suffer so terribly and almost losing his life." After Auntie finally finished speaking, she just wept quietly. Lance's mom is incredibly soft-hearted. Her friendship with Auntie spanned actual decades. It ran deep. Hearing her old friends speak with such raw sincerity, her defenses completely crumbled. She told Auntie not to overthink things, it would all pass. That absolutely disastrous summer vacation finally wrapped up. With his mom's anxious warnings and his dad's reluctant stares, Lance once again headed back to school. For whatever crazy reason, Khloe absolutely insisted on traveling on the exact same day as him. Lance couldn't care less. Sharing a ride simply meant traveling together. It was just a quick drive straight to the airport. Anyway, the second they arrived and stepped out of the car, Maya's video call randomly came ringing in. He didn't even bother walking away to answer. Speaking of Maya, she completely lived up to being stunningly brilliant. She just had one weird habit he never really understood. Whenever she needed him for something, regular voice calls were completely off the table. It always had to be a video chat. He actually asked her why once. She claimed video calls were louder, making them way harder to ignore. Turns out, the graduate school was jointly hosting a major competition alongside several top-tier universities. The judges were all legendary masters of traditional Chinese painting. Every single school could form a team to compete, so Maya asked Lance if he was interested. If he actually wanted to enter, she was willing to team up with him. Outside of painting, they honestly didn't talk very much. But her pure talent in Chinese painting was absolutely undeniable. Her incredibly soft and elegant brushwork perfectly matched his own style. He had learned so much from her over time. To Lance, she was equal parts mentor and friend. Chinese painting was his absolute passion. Getting the chance to partner with her for a real tournament was exactly what he desperately wanted. Before hanging up, "Stick with me here," Maya said she was already back at campus and offered to pick him up from the airport, which meant this time he wouldn't have to drag all his ridiculously heavy luggage back to the dorms alone. He felt pretty relieved. Ending the video chat, Lance noticed Khloe guarding a massive pile of suitcases by the curb, not far away. She was waiting while Chad threw an arm around her shoulder, wearing this gentle smile plastered on his face. "Who were you just video chatting with?" Khloe asked with a freezing cold expression. Lance was totally stunned. "None of your business. Someone you don't even know." Khloe looked seriously annoyed now. "Do you even have to ask?" Being able to talk for that long and look that happy. "It's obviously a girlfriend," Chad suddenly chimed in. "But Lance, this girlfriend of yours is pretty terrible, right? I mean, for the entire summer vacation, you were severely injured. Why didn't she even bother to come see you once? Look at Khloe keeping me company over here. Now, that is a real girlfriend. Honestly, if this guy just stayed quiet, fine, but the moment He opens his mouth, pure toxic garbage. Our guy Lance was just way too exhausted to acknowledge him, but you and I know Lance just went to grab his luggage. The evening flight lands, and the second Lance turns on his phone. Ding. Ding, a massive flood of messages from Khloe. Did you land, Lance? You have a lot of luggage. Is anyone picking you up? Lance, stay far away from other girls. You're too naive. I'll worry. This extremely clingy, suffocating version of Khloe was getting seriously annoying. Lance just deleted the messages, replied with exactly 3 words, arrived, do not worry. The other side replied instantly, sent several massive voice notes. He deleted them without even listening, shoved the phone right back into his backpack. Maya was waiting by a black SUV, smiling brightly, looking absolutely gorgeous. The second she saw Lance step out, her eyes lit up. She jogged right over, ruffling his hair. Long time no see, you grew taller, huh? He shrank his neck, totally embarrassed, tilting his head as he looked up at her. Maya had somehow gotten even prettier, a high compliment indeed. Wait, why are you so skinny? Haven't you been eating properly? Maya turned and asked him directly. For a split second, Lance couldn't even find the words to answer. A brutal summer break. He was injured twice, hospitalized twice, plus dealing with heavy depression. His appetite was completely gone. He really had lost a massive amount of weight. Maya, 2 years unseen, and you still remember what I looked like? I'm just losing weight recently. Lance smiled, rubbing his cheeks. Maya just shot him a serious side eye. You lost way too much weight. Color is completely gone from your eyes. I do not care if you're on a diet. Starting today, I am feeding you back to your normal self. Prepare yourself mentally. Back at campus, a dorm untouched all summer was covered in a thick layer of dust. His roommates weren't arriving until tomorrow. Lance rolled up his sleeves and scrubbed the place down. By the time he settled everything, it was already pushing 7 p.m. He was absolutely dead, aching back, throbbing legs. Just as he was about to finally crash onto the bed to rest, Maya sent him 2 documents, immediately following up with a video call. She said they were her concept outlines for the big competition. A bit rushed, just a rough framework. Details still needed serious polishing. She wanted Lance to check for any fresh ideas to blend in, the two of them joining forces to snatch first place in one epic sweep. Can I look later? I just finished cleaning my room and I am super tired, need to rest. Our guy was seriously exhausted. Honestly, even speaking left him breathless. Maya just raised an eyebrow. The feeding plan starts with this meal. I will come downstairs to get you. Rest after we eat. Honestly, Lance was dead tired. He really did not want to move, but his stomach was also totally empty. We've all been there, right? Can't wage war against hunger. Thinking it over, he finally agreed. Oh, right. Mind if my friends tag along? Do not mind at all. More people is better. Saves them from running out of things to say and staring at each other awkwardly. Maya wanted to come pick him up. He refused. Told her to just drop the location when she arrived. He would head over himself. At 7:45, Lance arrived at the spot. Another classic hot pot restaurant. Once bitten, twice shy, right? You and I know he was totally on guard here. As he steps through the door, a tall girl stands up from a distant window seat. She whispers something to her table, then starts walking straight toward our nervous MC. Maya is seriously tall. He honestly never noticed until now. She was just settling everyone. She was just about to greet him when he awkwardly blurts out, Maya, did you grow taller again? So tall, immediate regret. He wishes the floor would just swallow him. Blood rushes straight to his face, sweating pure embarrassment. Meanwhile, the stunning Maya is already in her 20s. Humans don't grow anymore. Such a completely brain-dead comment. Maya absolutely did not expect him to hit her with such a bizarre, nonsensical line. After today, he finally realizes he is an absolute sucker for a genuinely pretty face. Completely amused by his flustered, silly expression, she just bursts into bright, ringing laughter. Maya, hurry up and bring that handsome guy over. The hot pot is boiling. She guides him over, happily introducing him to all her college friends at the table. Our campus has a junior this handsome. How did we not know? Maya is hiding him. She never introduced us earlier. One teases. Mind if I ask you a quick question? Do you have any brothers back home? Even cousins? We really aren't too picky. Maya, forget being your best friend. Can I please be your sister-in-law instead? Facing this relentless, good-natured teasing, our guy is sweating bullets from sheer nerves. His palms are completely drenched. Sure, he usually has a pretty outgoing personality. And he never ignores friendly people, but this is their very first meeting, after all. Plus, it is an entire group of older girls. He is genuinely, deeply out of his element. Growing up, the only close women in his life were his mom and, of course, Khloe. Not that other girls didn't try. Back in high school, his backpack was literally stuffed with endless love letters, but back then, his heart and eyes were entirely locked onto Khloe. No matter how amazing anyone else was, he just never gave them a second glance. Naturally, he completely missed out on all their unique charms. But now we are finally watching him let go. The true healing arc begins. 20 years of youth, basically fed straight to the dogs. He missed so much beautiful scenery. All for Khloe. Stop talking nonsense, Maya scolds them, if you scare him away. You are responsible for bringing him back. As she says this, Maya keeps her head down. She is busy peeling shrimp shells just for him, gently placing the meat onto his plate. Watching him happily eat them one by one, Maya reveals the softest, most gentle smile. She has always protected him like this. Ever since they were little, she was his guardian. Always hyper-aware of his feelings, whenever a tricky situation pops up that might put him in an awkward spot, she immediately steps in to shut it down, every time. She knows exactly what he likes and hates. When she grabs food for him, it is always his absolute favorites, the stuff he is too shy to devour wildly in public. Unlike how he eats at home, and her friends, jokes aside, they treat him incredibly well. Laughter echoes constantly throughout the meal. This warm, relaxed atmosphere completely melts away his nervous tension. Whenever he is beside Maya, he feels totally at ease. Safe and comfortable. Long story short, he absolutely loves this dinner. As they head outside, it is pouring rain. September in the north means the weather has already turned freezing. You definitely need a heavy jacket for mornings and nights, but when our guy left earlier, because he had just finished some heavy lifting, he was sweating buckets back then. So he stepped out wearing only a thin t-shirt. Now it is 9:30 p.m. And it was pouring rain. The outside temperature had dropped drastically. Just stepping out of those restaurant doors, the freezing autumn chill hit his face. He subconsciously hugged his arms and shivered. Cold, Maya turned her head and asked him. He rubbed the goosebumps on his aggressively trembling arms and honestly nodded. Soon, a warm jacket was draped right over his shoulders. Faint perfume scent lingered around his nose. Wearing Mia's jacket felt just like being held in Maya's arms. His face suddenly flushed red, burning hot. He really wanted to return the jacket. It felt way too intimate, but Mia already saw right through his thoughts, gently pressing down on his shoulders. Just where? It was not his first time anyway. Catching a cold would delay the competition. Now that was a serious excuse. Lance was left totally helpless and successfully threatened by her logic. Maya said they were fighting in a team competition, but actually this so-called team was really just him and her. The others were just enthusiastic external helpers. They would not appear on the competition roster, nor would they help with the creation. The sheer level of the competition for students still in school was considered insanely high. You see, the participants were all the absolute cream of the crop. Standing out in this competition was going to be tough. Lance settled his heart to take it seriously. Maya said they had to break out of the conventional Chinese painting routines and take a totally innovative route. Otherwise, there was zero hope of winning. He deeply agreed and began deeply pondering how to use Chinese painting techniques to perfectly express something completely fresh and novel. The big competition was at the end of October. Still almost 2 months away. time was pretty ample. He still had enough time to figure it all out. Maya and Lance each held their own strong opinions on what to paint. From this point of view, both of them definitely belonged to the relatively stubborn type of people. Neither could convince the other. Later, they decided they would each paint a small mock-up first and make the final decision after a full, comprehensive evaluation. This idea was actually relatively fair, he agreed. After that, besides going to his classes, Lance immersed himself in creation, under the perfect guise of convenient communication. Maya secured a sweet spot for him in the grad school studio. He could go anytime. Because of Mia, he became the very first freshman at Northern University who could freely enter and exit the grad school, and at the exact same time making a large batch of guys who admired Mia extremely jealous. His life was monotonous, but definitely not dull. The completely unpleasant mood brought by the summer vacation gradually subsided. Maya truly treated feeding him like some everyday essential task. When the time came, absolutely no matter where Lance was or what he was doing, she would rush over with lightning speed and practically drag him to eat. Often Maya's friends would be there too. Over time, they all actually became quite familiar faces. Because of his close connection to Maya, they all started calling him Little Brother Lance. When Maya was sometimes too busy to take care of him, every single one of them would step up and take great care of him. With Maya around, he was honestly like a little kid, happily enjoying her meticulous care. But it seemed fate just could not stand seeing him live comfortably. The day before the mock-up was totally finished, Lance actually received a sudden video call from Khloe. He had literally just finished showering at the time and was just sitting at his desk drying his hair. Her call unexpectedly came in. Seeing that flashing profile picture, Lance had totally mixed feelings. A long pause. You and I know this was her first video call to Lance since he started college. He had absolutely zero clue what she wanted from him. Honestly, he almost decided not to answer it. The call dropped, but she dialed right back. Reluctantly, Lance finally swiped the answer button. Chloe's face popped clearly onto the screen. "Hey Lance, what are you up to?" She was beaming, looking incredibly happy, her eyes absolutely shining with joy. "Just showered," Lance replied, drying his hair. "Need something? Can I call if I do not need anything?" Khloe teased, her lips curving up, her eyes swirling with this really gentle affection. Too bad it had absolutely nothing to do with him. Lance let out dry chuckle. He ignored her teasing. This kind of borderline flirty banter just was not right for them anymore. Even back when he was totally obsessed with her, he had never joked around this intimately. Now, totally impossible. "Well, I do have a big favor to ask," she finally admitted. "What favor?" Lance's eyebrow twitched hard. A seriously bad feeling hit him. In his entire life, this was the very first time she ever begged or asked him for a favor. He was not thrilled. Deep down, he felt since it was destined that they had absolutely no future together, they really needed to be exactly like two parallel lines, never crossing paths, never having a single thing to do with each other ever again. Anyway, Chad's department is organizing a student exchange with Northern University. He is heading your way the day after tomorrow. He has never traveled far before and he's pretty introverted. I am so worried he won't be able to manage on his own. Wait, so Chad is invading his turf and she wants Lance to play babysitter. Is the guy missing hands or feet? Is his brain completely broken? Or just missing a few screws? Honestly, Lance wanted to flat out refuse her, because Chad looked like a fragile nerd on the outside, but Lance always knew the guy's mind was full of toxic schemes, constantly calculating and setting traps. Lance was genuinely worried about getting dragged into his messes. Plus, you and I know Lance was already insanely busy with his competition, working like an absolute dog every day. Without Maya around, he probably would not even remember to eat properly. "Please, Lance, I am literally begging you." She flashed this super hopeful smile, pushing him for an answer once again. "Hey Lance, I'll be good. I definitely won't cause any trouble." You see, Chad absolutely hated being ignored, always needing to make his smug presence known, right? Front of Lance, Lance stared at that brightly smiling face on the screen. The pure smugness in Chad's eyes was completely obvious. Lance's head throbbed. Why not just ask Maya? Maya could definitely take way better care of him than Lance ever could. Khloe coughed, looking super awkward. She is so busy. How would she have the time to help him? Lance curled his lip, not buying that excuse for a second. Uncle and auntie. Weaver firmly opposed Khloe and Chad dating when it came to a major life event. Like her little sister's future happiness, Mia obviously knew the truth. Khloe was completely terrified Mia would side with their parents and totally reject Chad. That is exactly why she came begging Lance. How long is the exchange? He asked, at most. A month. Hearing him consider it, Khloe's eyes completely lit up. Let us be clear. Up front, I have a ton of things going on lately. I will try my best, tell him. If he needs something, find me. If he doesn't need anything, he better not keep bothering me. Understood. Thank you so much, Lance. Seeing he finally caved, Khloe happily flashed a bright smile. Now, the next morning, Maya actually took Lance for soup. Dumplings, serving his absolute favorite chive and egg filling, alongside fresh cornmeal porridge. All right, check this out. Just thinking about Chad showing up, Lance was incredibly annoyed. Even his appetite took a hit. He only managed 2 bamboo steamers before tapping out. Maya sat right across from him, gently asking what was wrong. Why eat so little? Lance muttered that Chad was coming. He hated him. Maya looked confused. Chad who? And what did that have to do with Lance? Maya was completely bewildered, unable to understand his sudden depression. Lance was shocked too. Did Maya actually not know about Khloe and Chad? Did she have zero clue about the messy history between him and Khloe? No wonder. Since they met, Maya never brought it up once. She never tried comforting his injured heart. He was her younger sister's boyfriend. Lance explained that in the future they would be family. He couldn't believe she didn't know. Lance curled his lip, not buying her story at all. Maya dropped her chopsticks, staring right into his eyes in disbelief, trying to confirm if he was actually serious. Maybe in Maya's eyes, his words sounded like some wild fantasy tale, completely impossible to actually happen. It hurt him so much. Lance really hated talking about it, because talking meant remembering it all over again, and he never wanted to relive that mid-autumn festival. Never again. Maya just gave him a gentle smile. Sure, whatever makes him happy. Let's go, class is starting. But she told Lance he had to remember, no matter what happened, she would always be right there with him. Lance was genuinely moved. She always captured his emotional shifts perfectly. He asked why Maya was so good to him. Hearing that, Maya completely froze. Unreadable emotions suddenly surged deep in her eyes, but she quickly pushed them down, turning right back into that gentle, reliable Maya. She told Lance he was smart and handsome, so he obviously deserved to be treated well. That morning, Maya walked him all the way to his classroom door. She watched him find a seat and settle in. Only then did she finally turn and leave, seeing Lance personally dropped off by the campus goddess. Everyone stared. A bunch of guys immediately crowded around, asking what exactly his relationship with the goddess was. When they found out Lance was basically her younger brother, every single one of them acted like they had just met their new brother-in-law. They even started begging to know if they were the goddess's type. If they made the first move, could they actually win the gorgeous goddess's heart? Watch this. With the critical eye of a protective brother, Lance carefully examined these desperate guys. That one's eyes, way too small. Were they even open or closed? And that middle part haircut, completely out of touch with modern fashion trends. That guy's gestures were way too flashy, looked totally unmanly. Another guy way too tacky, a black t-shirt with overalls. Seriously. As for the dude next to him, holding a basketball like his literal lifeline, fully obsessed. After scanning the room, Lance publicly announced that everyone failed. None of them were Maya's type. Desperate, the basketball guy leaned in and asked him in front of everyone what was Maya's ideal man. What did he actually need to do to win her favor? Lance honestly couldn't answer, but it definitely wasn't the middle part. Basketball or overalls, guys? Maybe he simply didn't know the real answer. His harsh rejections were really just his own personal opinion anyway. The boys held their shattered hearts and sadly shuffled right back to their seats. One guy even collapsed onto his desk, refusing to get up for the entire class. Barring any sudden surprises, he was already dead to the world, completely fast asleep. Despite all right, we've all met someone this insufferable. Despite hating it, Lance hit the airport on time. Chad immediately started yapping. Lance, you really came. You truly answered to Khloe's every request. How great. Now help carry this luggage. My arms are super sore from carrying it. Seriously, Chad was annoying as ever. If Lance wasn't actively honoring his promises, he would have totally ditched him right then and there. So incredibly annoying. Ordering Lance around the second they met. Yeah, dream on. Haven't eaten, no energy. Lance didn't even look his way. Chad watched as our guy entered the car, totally expressionless, leaving him completely behind. Chad was so furious he ground his teeth. Ultimately, he had to toss that luggage into the trunk himself. Lance was genuinely baffled, though. It was just a simple school exchange for one measly month. Was it honestly necessary to pack 3 giant suitcases? Lance, you have been studying here for a whole year. You really don't even have a car. We're taking a taxi. Chad just kept looking for trouble, muttering endlessly. If you don't want to sit, roll out, Lance countered. Blah. Blah, sounding like a boiling teapot. Nobody forced you inside. Do you really think I have endless patience and you can just bully me? Lance snapped back. You clearly promised Khloe you would take care of me. Watch it, or I will call her right now and complain. At that, Lance grabbed his own phone, practically shoving it straight into Chad's face. Khloe is a sweetheart. Go ahead, tell her everything. Tell her. Right now, my battery is full. Need to borrow it. Up front, the taxi driver couldn't hold back anymore, bursting into laughter while Chad completely lost face. His expression shifted blue and white with pure rage, glaring like he wanted Lance dead on the spot. Lance just happily hummed a little tune the whole ride, completely ignoring the guy. He used his actions to make Chad understand the pecking order. Lance just loved seeing that frustrated look where Chad couldn't stand him, but also couldn't do a single thing about it. Arriving at the university gate, the 2 cars following Chad's exchange crew also stopped. After dropping him off at the dorm buildings, Lance was fully ready to leave. Suddenly, Chad yelled out again, "Hey Lance, I'm starving, treat us all to hot pot." Lance's head filled with question marks. Just how insanely thick was this guy's skin? Yeah, my classmates and I don't know this city treat us. Wow, the sheer audacity. Treating just him was already giving Khloe face a forced obligation. Now this clown actually wanted Lance to feed his entire class. Do you think I have way too much cash and nowhere to burn it? I don't lack funds, but you sure don't deserve a dime. Waste, no money, bye. Lance turned right around and started walking away. Chad, didn't you brag someone would take care of absolutely everything for us here? Why does he refuse to even buy us a hot pot meal? The guy your girlfriend connected you with isn't some broke loser, right? He doesn't treat you nicely at all. Were you just talking big? His classmates didn't even take Chad seriously. Walking away, Lance laughed. Sure enough, birds of a feather flocked right together. Chad was incredibly vain and obsessed with reputation. His face rapidly alternated between green and red, totally dropping that gentle fake persona he used for Khloe. Completely flustered and exasperated, eyes practically spewing fire. Lance, if you don't pay, I'm telling Khloe. Lance just smirked. Oh wow, how old are you? Still tattletaling. How many little good boy points did Khloe award you? Go cry to whoever. If you have the guts, go file a complaint with the UN. The gathered onlookers were highly amused, giving Chad zero face whatsoever, laughing so incredibly hard they bent over. Turns out it was just a massive fake plastic brotherhood. Completely enraged, Chad actually ripped out his phone. Chad made a call. Khloe picked up fast. He put it on speaker and everyone could hear everything clearly. Khloe. Chad's voice was disgustingly gentle, just like always. I made it to school safe. What is wrong? You sound off. Did you catch a cold? Why is your voice so raspy? Khloe fired back with 3 rapid questions. In a row, nothing. It is just that my class wants hot pot, but. Leaving the sentence hanging, Chad looked right at our MC, faking total helpless victim energy. Here we go again. You and I know his two-faced, manipulative act might be delayed, but it always shows up. She snatched the phone right over. Your boyfriend wants me too. Buy his entire class hot pot. I am completely broke, cannot afford this. So yeah, you two have fun chatting. Chad's jaw literally dropped, his face full of pure panic. He never expected her to expose his manipulative little act. Straight to his face, Khloe went dead silent. The whole crowd was just watching, waiting for the drama to explode. Unable to handle the embarrassment, Chad softly called out to Khloe again. In the end, Khloe wired her $500, saying, I will pay, you just take them out. Chad cares about his pride. Please don't embarrass him. Our MC didn't even want to answer that, but the sheer audacity made her blood boil. Tap, tap, tap. She fired back a quick text. No time for this. Khloe's blindness perfectly triggered her rebellious side. She instantly refunded the cash, telling her to send it to Chad herself. Right after that, she forwarded her the exact address of the restaurant, dusted off her hands, and walked right out. Looking like an absolute boss, Khloe called her multiple times that day. She treated them like pure static, totally ignoring every single ring. Later that night, right before falling asleep, Khloe sent another text. Chad is just introverted and has super low self-esteem. Give him some space. Khloe sending this text at way past midnight. Yeah, she absolutely wasn't trying to explain things. She just wanted to remind our girl once again to keep her precious boyfriend happy. She left Khloe on read, treating her like a complete joke. She swiped the notification away and enjoyed her peaceful little life. Who knows what went wrong in Chad's brain next, but he actually felt offended. Surprisingly, he stayed completely away from her for days. This gave her a huge sense of shock and relief. Even without him vanishing entirely, she could finally breathe. Let's be real, this guy was practically a walking ticking time bomb. Keeping him close meant massive drama was absolutely guaranteed, sooner or later. She couldn't help comparing Khloe and Maya. When she had her accident, Khloe either ignored it completely or just baited, but Maya, whether she meant to or not, she was always the one protecting her. Mia was easily the person who cared about her the most. Outside of her own parents, she managed to completely monopolize all of Mia's free time whenever Mia got too busy and she didn't see her. For 2 or 3 days, total panic. It felt like a piece was missing. Maya seemed to just get it. No matter how crazy her schedule got, she'd always find time to call her. But before heading back, Chad tried to corner her again, head down, looking utterly heartbroken while trying to play the innocent victim. She knew his toxic playbook way too well, too tired for his bad acting. She told him to just spit it out if he had a point. Stop playing these stupid games. I am not Khloe. Even if he dropped dead right there, she wouldn't feel an ounce of pity. Chad looked up, dripping with fake sadness, lying straight through his teeth, claiming Stella was just nobody. You and I know the drill. Chad claimed nothing happened with that hometown girl. Totally innocent. He told our guy to stop overthinking things. As for Chad and Stella's secret, he thought it over. Snitching to Khloe would just be a seriously thankless task, so he just gave Chad a warning. Go back and treat Khloe right. She actually likes you. After shoving Chad onto his flight, he texted a photo to Khloe, proving Chad made it back in one piece. Khloe quickly replied with a really polite thank you. He could literally hear her joy. Yikes, he honestly hoped she could still smile when the ugly truth comes out. Just like that, the massive October Golden Week holiday officially hit. Students scattered everywhere, rushing back to their hometowns like crazy, dragging heavy suitcases home. Others grouped up into little squads too. Travel, he already told his folks he was staying behind to hit up Fragrant Hills, just him and his roommates, Zach and Pete, checking out the autumn leaves. His bag was literally packed, but then Maya dropped a bomb. The big competition schedule moved way up. They had to finish everything before the 4th, or else they'd completely fail the review. So he watched Zach and Pete hop on the airport shuttle, leaving him in the dust. Meanwhile, he got dragged back to the studio by Maya to furiously grind out those final touches. A perfectly solid trip totally ruined. His mood crashed. He honestly could not muster energy for anything. According to Maya, he spent days radiating absolute bitterness and pure hatred. Not a single smile anywhere. Most teachers and students had already left the school. The studio was already pretty dead, and now it was just the two of them. Maya just stared at him eating and ordered him to keep painting perfectly. Stay focused. We all know that feeling, so bleak he almost cried. A huge holiday utterly wasted. By the night of the 3rd, he grinded until 9 p.m. He was exhausted, yawning, begging to just crash and finish the rest tomorrow. Maya shut that down fast. Using every trick possible, she forced him to finish up those final details. At 10:45 p.m., he finally reached his dorm after working day and night for 3 straight days. His head smashed the pillow and he instantly blacked out. In his dream, Zach and Pete sat inside some roast duck joint, laughing at him, flexing their epic photos from fragrant hills. He was so furious, he wanted to literally reach through the dream and beat them senseless. He planned to sleep like an absolute rock with nothing else to do during the break, but unexpectedly, the sky was barely even getting bright when his phone screeched like a ghost. He assumed it was his mom. Groggy, he grabbed it and mumbled, "Mom." There was a brief moment of total silence on the other end, followed by a soft chuckle, so familiar it made his ears ring. He instantly snapped awake and checked the screen. Maya was smiling back like some fairy. "It is a massive holiday. He finished the work too. Why are you bothering him this early in the morning?" His morning rage instantly hit absolute peak levels. Yelling at the top of his lungs, she just laughed harder, eyes sparkling with stars. "Wake up, lazy pig. Stop sleeping. I am taking you out." He completely refused, so Maya patiently coaxed him, hyping up how insane the food was over there, how gorgeous the scenery was, how elite painters practically fought for a spot to sketch. She promised that if he went, he would likely never want to return. Her sweet voice was a trap. Maya was totally not. She wasn't just some master of Chinese painting. Maya had other hidden talents, too. "Listen to me, you and I both know missing a trip like this would simply be a massive lifelong regret." Stepping right out of his dorm building, slinging his heavy backpack, he spots Maya standing quietly under a tree, waiting for him. That soft, gentle smile tugging at her lips, and man, her eyes were holding pure starlight. The morning sun filtered right through those green leaves, making her look like a literal painting, stepping straight into the real world. Stunning. So gorgeous it made his heart absolutely panic. Before our guy even recovers, he's already sitting inside the car. Too early for breakfast, she claims, so she bought this instead. Just make do. She drops a warm bag right into his hands, opening it up. Boom, his absolute favorite shrimp dumplings and multi-grain porridge, straight from that one specific shop way far from Northern University. The sky was barely even getting bright. How early did this girl wake up? The warm, comforting porridge easily slid down his throat, honestly, so satisfying it made him want to sigh. He glances at Maya, totally locked in on driving, her side profile seriously flawless. He constantly gets that exact feeling, totally unable to look away. Catching his staring, she shoots a sideways glance, flashing a teasing smile. Satisfied with the view, yeah, Maya absolutely loved smiling, sometimes refreshing like a spring breeze, sometimes incredibly warm, making him feel instantly at ease. "Hey Maya, after this busy stretch ends, I'm painting your portrait." He specializes in figures, right? So a peerless beauty like Maya, failing to immortalize her on canvas would honestly be an absolute reckless waste of pure talent. "Sure, exactly what I wanted," she replies. They talk and laugh the whole drive, the vibe completely chill and happy. Our guy begs her to Reveal their destination so he can quickly map out a perfect little travel itinerary. Planning to go absolutely wild these next 4 days, but Maya, she was playing it totally mysterious. No matter what he tried, she wouldn't budge, just saying he'd find out when they arrived, claiming he would instantly fall in love with it, driving over a massive mountain, scaling slopes, carving through deep forests, and crossing countless bridges, finally arriving. And you guys, he immediately loves this place. The Yang Hugo Ecological Sightseeing Zone sits right inside the rolling, hilly region of the outer Changai Mountains. Out here, you find endless stretches of primeval forest, crazy diverse vegetation, towering green peaks, and perfectly clear waters, bright blue skies, fluffy white clouds, hopping out onto the dirt road. A quick 30-minute walk leads right up to the main forest park entrance. Sure, cars can totally drive inside, but Maya insists true traveling is about the actual journey. Driving just makes you miss the tiny details. Walking, way more fulfilling. Maya grabs their tickets, and our MC follows her inside like a loyal sidekick. No crazy amusement rides around here, just pure, unfiltered appreciation of the epic scenery. Taking in the mountains and rivers, he's practically skipping and jumping around, just pure joy. Maya laughs, calling him a total hyper monkey, peak tourist season, so the crowds are real thick. Everyone around them keeps talking, claiming the maple leaves up ahead are the absolute best sight. Maya just turns her head, giving him a warm smile. Whatever you miss wasn't meant for you. What's right here in front of your eyes, that's your true scenery. Her words hit a bit philosophical. Our guy barely understands, but we definitely know what she means. An early reward for Lance, let us find out. Maya walks faster, slipping right past. Once they finally tire out from all that walking, the two of them sit down right on the ground. She opens the camera album herself, showing him the pictures taken. Lance, look how handsome you are. He is stunned. Maya, your photography skills are absolutely amazing, just as good as your painting. He honestly cannot help but wonder, is there anything this girl cannot do? Just like when they were kids, Maya gently holds his hand, leading him down the mountain trails. She tells him about famous folk painting masters, names he has never even heard of. She shares her deep, unique thoughts on classical painting and reminisces about the hidden dirt paths they used to explore as little kids. Above them, clear blue skies and white clouds, a blazing sun hanging like a giant disc. The mountain scenery here is absolutely picture perfect, straight out of a painting. Even surrounded by crowds of total strangers, Lance feels surprisingly calm. Maya, it is breathtaking here. How did you find this place? She just smiles. You think this is beautiful. The best is yet to come. Wanna go see? Maya has a soft, rich voice, like a beautiful cello echoing through the gorgeous landscape. Fast forward, the car pulls up to a tiny village, and Lance is completely speechless. All over again. If he was not looking right at it, he would never believe that such a magnificent, storybook place actually existed in the real world. If that mountain before was a literal fairyland, then what he is looking at right now is the perfect picture of cozy human life. Maya, where are we? Lance practically gasps. He is totally starstruck. This is called Yang Hugo Village, she explains to him, also known as the Painter's Village. Lance blinks. Wait, is everyone living here an artist? She shakes her head. The scenery draws painters here to sketch directly from nature. There are tons of artists staying here right now, but honestly, it is a pity. Because no matter how skilled the brush, you can never fully capture these incredible mountains or these beautiful waters. That is exactly why Maya wanted to bring him here personally. To see it, memorize it. Maybe this place will spark some major artistic inspiration for him. Lance just stares blankly at the view. His hands are already itching to start drawing. Wanna paint? Maya teases. Food first. We can paint the beautiful sunset later. Maya navigates straight to a familiar homestay. The owner hears them pull up and excitedly runs out. He and Maya chat warmly, looking exactly like old friends reuniting. They have known each other for years. Maya, it has been forever since you visited. Finally brought a boyfriend, huh? Fantastic. I can stop worrying about you now. Awkward, Lance quickly steps up. Hello, uncle, I am Lance. Maya is my older sister. Getting mistaken for her boyfriend, we have all been there. Lance blushes hard before Maya can even explain, he jumps right in. The homestay boss just laughs out loud, tells them to make themselves at home, and heads inside to prepare their food and rooms. Dinner is a classic northern farmhouse feast, and honestly, it tastes incredible. Lance eats so much food he can barely even walk afterward. Maya just laughs at him, dragging him out for a walk around the village to digest. Maya, is there a lake around here? Why is it called Yanghugu? Lance asks. He heard rumors about local bandits. She smiles. Back then, it was actually called Yanghugu. Raising Bandits Valley. Honestly, no one knows when the name shifted to Foreign Valley. Wait, what is a bandit? A type of snake, she replies. Growing up down south, Lance had zero clue what that meant, just hearing Maya mention that bandits used to rule here. All right, get this. Lance actually thought bandits were squishy animals. Maya just laughed again. Patted his head, explaining they're outlaws. Lance smiled, feeling completely embarrassed. Totally unaware of his own absolute cluelessness. No wonder Maya kept cracking up at him. Later that evening, Maya opened her trunk and her gear. Absolutely shocked him. She actually brought a massive painting kit, setting it all up perfectly. Then she pushed Lance into the seat, pressing a brush right into his hand. She'd paint with him. He sat completely glued there, painting for 4 straight hours. The sun dipped down, the moon rose. Soon, lights in every corner of the homestay flickered on to light their canvas. 4 whole hours gone, and Lance had only managed a rough sketch. He'd have to color it all in once he got back. Over the next 2 days, Lance and Maya explored every single corner. He locked every lush, gorgeous view right into his memory, snapping tons of pictures. He fully planned to use his brush to capture every single breathtaking scene he couldn't get enough of. Once home, he'd make them permanent, but beautiful. Times fly by fast. The trip back felt way shorter. Maya dropped him at his dorm, reminding him to get some rest. She promised to pick him up for dinner later, finally submitting the finished draft to the competition judges. Lance felt a massive weight lift off his shoulders, and he shifted focus to the picture book for that golden anniversary couple. Originally, he planned to use a traditional Chinese painting style, but after checking carefully, he realized the clients actually wanted colored pencils. Honestly, Lance had only studied Chinese painting since childhood. Sure, he dabbled a bit in sketching, but nothing too serious. He honestly had zero experience using any colored pencils. Still, Lance never backs down from a challenge. Seeing his determination, Maya recommended a solid course. He learned as he drew, slowly discovering the joy of it, his strokes getting smoother. At first, Lance only intended to use the client's stories as basic backgrounds, but the gorgeous scenery of Jan Hugo kept flashing through his mind. A brilliant new idea took root. He wanted to use the stunning Jan Hugo views as the backdrop, letting this couple who shared 50 years of love live forever within that magnificent, sweeping landscape. Maya pitched his concept to the client. Surprisingly, they loved it, promising a sweet cash bonus if he nailed the artwork, earning some unexpected extra money. Absolutely thrilling. His painting suddenly flowed effortlessly, smooth like a fish in water. Creating art always made Lance happy, slowly helping him forget his painful past. One afternoon, while he was walking past the basketball courts, super handsome upperclassman flagged him down. Lance Harper, right, I hear everyone calls you little brother Lankos. I'll stick with that, so let me introduce myself properly. I'm Tyler, a junior in the design department, and I've liked senior Maya for ages. I've been dying to confess to her, but just haven't found the perfect moment. Everyone says you're basically her little brother. Could you possibly hand her this letter? Lance was absolutely stunned. You seeing this, he liked his Maya, but his Maya was incredibly tough to win over. Tyler smirked confidently. Little brother Lance just needs to deliver this letter for me. I'll handle all the Rest myself, I'm completely confident I can win her heart, so Lance pinched that carefully folded love letter. Suddenly, his arm felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. Heavy, sore, and painful, Lance was terrified of disappointing the upperclassman. He had no choice but to reluctantly agree, seeing him walk in. Holding his right hand up, Pete thought something terrible happened. He asked directly, "Why are you posing like some immortal ascending to the heavens? Is this guy getting tired of a good life, trying to escape the mortal realm?" Lance rolled his eyes at him, completely ignored the guy, and slammed a love letter onto the desk. Did handsome Lance really get a love letter? Let your bro see which delicate beauty has so much passion. Don't touch it. Lance slapped Pete's hand away. This is from upperclassman Tyler. For Maya, Pete's mouth dropped wide open in absolute disbelief. Lance, are you completely heartless? Actually taking a love letter for my goddess? What's wrong with that? Lance replied. A great girl has 100 suitors. Whoever has the capability wins her. Pete looked at him like he was a total idiot, ultimately defeated by Lance's stubbornly innocent eyes. He mumbled back, "You're something else, man. You are absolutely ruthless. I won't say more. Think about it yourself. But let me tell you, if you dare give this letter to my goddess, I guarantee you'll make her blow her top." Impossible. Maya has never blown her top at me. He was just playing messenger bird for her, trying to help her ditch the single market sooner. Isn't this a good deed, helping others out? Why would she be mad at him? I don't even know what to say to you. Just don't regret it. In nearly 20 years, I've never seen someone as unromantic as you. I give up. Pete slapped his forehead, utterly speechless, then turned and threw himself onto his bed, completely ignoring him. October 15th was Maya's birthday. Lance had already prepared a gift, planning to deliver the upperclassman's love letter right alongside it, basically icing on the cake for Maya. That day, her friends organized a massive dinner. Lance's 2 roommates also went, totaling about a dozen people sitting around, super lively and bustling. When it came time for the big gift-giving segment, everyone pulled out the things they prepared, along with a few cliché congratulatory phrases. Maya simply smiled and accepted them all, one by one. When it was Lance's turn, pay attention here, the room went completely quiet. Everyone stared at him eagerly. Their expectant gazes seriously looked like anxious mothers hoping their sons would become literal dragons. Maya, I have 2 gifts for you. This is called good things coming in pairs. One is something I've been preparing for a long time. The other is just icing on the cake. Quick break, download Shuki novels, just search. Forget the chills to read full episodes. Lance finally let go. Consider my 20 years of youth fed to the dogs. Maya just smiled and nodded, her eyes swirling with total gentleness, sweet like honey wine. Okay, all right, little brother Lance, stop keeping everyone in suspense. Hurry up and bring it out. Didn't you see Maya's eyes are about to cross? Lance playfully chanted the rhythm out loud, pulling out a long box tied with a red ribbon with both hands, presenting it to Maya like a sacred treasure. The people in the room all rushed behind Maya, totally urging her to open the gift. Maya looked at him with a gentle smile, opened the box, took out a roll of rice paper, and unrolled it right in front of everyone, truly worthy of the professor calling him a genius. It looks exactly like her. Little brother Lance perfectly captured Maya's spirit, someone gasped, even prettier than a photo. Totally, look at this hair, not a single strand is out of place. Everyone chattered away, excitedly discussing it. What a masterpiece, you and I can see why. Lance gave Maya a stunning portrait. All right, you and I need to look at Lance's dedication. He hadn't slept for nights, focusing entirely on perfectly capturing Mia's expressions. If you line up all the figures he's painted before right next to each other, this portrait was the absolute smallest, but honestly, it was his absolute peak masterpiece. In the canvas, Mia's chin is slightly raised, her black hair flowing down like a waterfall, eyes sparkling like actual stars, gazing far off into the distance, and the slight curve of her lips brought the whole piece to life. Mia, do you like it? Lance asks her proudly. He's completely confident she would definitely love And sure enough, Mia nods, her ridiculously gorgeous eyes ripple. With literal starlight, the corners of her mouth continuously hook upwards into a smile. Her voice soft, totally failing to hide her joy. I like it, I like. Lance's gift the best. Hearing this, Lance cheers out loud, handing that love letter to Maya with both hands. I knew you'd like it, Maya. Here is the second gift for you. Everyone claps, celebrating Mia finally leaving the single life behind. When that thin paper lands in Maya's hand, Lance spots pure, undeniable joy shining in her eyes, so much that the hand holding the letter starts trembling just a bit. Maya, play it cool, all right, at least consider taking care of poor Lance's feelings, won't you? Upperclassman Tyler's love letter really makes you that happy. Lance, is this a gift from you? Maya, do you want to open it up and check? Lance asks with a grin. Maya carefully tucks the letter into her pocket. No rush, I will read it when I get back. The crowd bursts into another round of teasing, joking that Mia is just saving the letter to secretly admire it all by herself later. She's way too shy to let anyone else see the words inside. Mia doesn't deny it, she just looks right at Lance, smiling so brightly, starlight flashing in her eyes. That smile is so stunning, it literally leaves him dazed. Everyone is having a total blast, but then comes the buzzkill. You and I knew this was coming. Pete sighs sincerely, advising her better read it right now. Opening that later is definitely gonna make you cough up blood. What do you mean? Hannah leans closer to Pete. Pete just gives her that knowing look. Throwing his hands up dramatically, he purses his lips and shoots Lance a quick glance. Standing right beside Maya, Lance suddenly remembers Pete's warning from that night, getting this horrible sinking feeling that picking today to hand over that specific letter was actually a massive mistake. Too late for regrets now, though. Maya seems to notice his sudden panic. She pulls the letter back out, unfolds it, and reads every single word. Line by line, her expression completely drops the second she sees that signature on the last page. Her face turns entirely dark, like an unwashed ink stone. Suddenly, an aura of absolute freezing cold seeps right out of Mia. She turns slowly, staring dead at Lance with ice in her eyes. He steps back, terrified, trying to escape Mia's freezing blast radius. Without a word, she neatly folds the letter back to its original shape, shoves it in her pocket, turns back around, and asks him straight up, Lance, is this really what you want? Mia's gaze is completely cold and totally distant. Lance starts panicking hard. He knows he just messed up big time, but right as he's about to shake his head and deny everything, Maya marches back to her seat, grabs a completely full glass of wine, and aggressively downs it in one shot. Lance is look at our guy, completely bewildered. He just delivered a love letter. How did it become his wish? For a second, he couldn't figure out what exactly Maya was so mad about. He looked to Pete, begging his roommate to help him analyze the situation, but the second Pete met his gaze, he completely turned away. Acting like he didn't know him, he sat down in a daze, staring at a table full of amazing food, but it all tasted like cardboard. Maya kept a dark face, saying nothing. Everyone else played ostrich, burying their heads and eating like crazy. The dining table's atmosphere suddenly became super heavy and totally eerie. For the rest of that entire meal, Mia never looked his way again. He knew Mia was absolutely furious. This was the first time she ever got mad at him. The birthday party ended. They originally planned to hit karaoke to sing. Mia just said she was exhausted and sent everyone home. He still felt so regretful. For Mia's birthday, he had practiced 2 whole songs so incredibly hard, wanting to dedicate them to her right then. Turns out he practiced for absolutely nothing. She gave him 0 chance to sing at all. The restaurant wasn't too far from school. They didn't drive. The friend group walked back in pairs. Out of habit, he went to find Maya. Whether that night was great, the stars were incredibly numerous and bright. He admired the starry sky as they walked, desperately wanting Maya to look up with him. But Maya completely ignored the poor guy, just walking coldly the entire way, didn't even spare him a single glance, back at the dorm with Pete, following the golden rule of asking when you're totally clueless. He launched a desperate discussion about the real reason for Maya's sudden anger. He assumed, as a good roommate humbly asking for solid advice, Pete would definitely explain the reason. Well, you and I know better. After Pete finished washing up, he just threw him an eye roll and lay down, leaving him completely alone. Twisting in the wind, when he packed up and lay in bed, Mia's ice-cold face kept flashing in his mind. He just couldn't fall asleep no matter what. He took out his phone, pulled up Mia's WeChat, and started absolutely message bombing her. Sent over a dozen texts in a row. All of them vanished like drops in the ocean, disappearing completely without a trace. Maya actually didn't reply to a single one, not replying right, fine, he would just call. But when he dialed the number, the automated voice directly prompted that her phone was completely turned off. Yeah, Maya was probably truly furious. He had no choice but to give up. He told himself everything would be fine tomorrow, and then he fell into a groggy sleep. The very next day, he intentionally woke up super early, clutching the heavy textbooks needed for class, running happily downstairs under the completely hopeless and pitiful gazes of his two roommates, eager to meet up with Maya, by usual convention. As long as Maya was at school, she would definitely come pick him up to eat. He ran straight to the dorm building's main entrance, frantically searching absolutely everywhere for Mia's silhouette. There really wasn't much cover in front of that dorm door. He made his eyes literally sore from staring, but still didn't see Maya. She drank quite a bit last night. She must have just overslept. He dialed her number again, way better than last night. At least it was on, first a steady ringing tone, then it hung up all on its own. With absolutely no answer, Maya, hurry and wake up, time for breakfast. Not answering the phone meant it definitely wasn't convenient. He sent a text message and started waiting, but just like last night, the text completely sank like a stone in the ocean. We've all been there, right? He ran to the teaching building on an empty stomach. This was the very first time Maya had actually stood him up without any warning whatsoever. Skipping breakfast was whatever, but Lance had gotten totally used to having her right there. With her suddenly gone, his chest just felt completely hollow, like something vital vanished. The kid could not focus on class at all. He even made the professor angrily knock on his desk twice. Come noon, same story. He waited around like a fool. More than half an hour passed, not a single trace of Maya. Starting to panic, he whipped out his phone and dialed her number again. Nothing but a solid wall of silence. Did something terrible happen? He absolutely bolted through the rose corridor in a blind panic. He sprinted straight to the grad school building, rushing the studio without taking a single breath. Only to find those heavy doors locked tight. He knocked frantically, but nobody made a sound. He was doomed. Maya was completely gone. Our guy dragged himself back to the dorms, looking utterly soulless. He did not even have the appetite to eat until night completely fell. Dozens of chat messages sent, dozens of frantic calls, but Maya stayed completely silent. Was he just getting abandoned all over again? Lights out, he just lay there in bed, mind totally spiraling. Did she throw him away? Was he destined to be alone again? His thoughts drifted right back to his senior year. After that autumn festival, he went from chasing Khloe around constantly to being completely isolated. Back then, his chest just felt hollow every single day, like the entire world had turned it's back on him, and now, it felt exactly like reliving that exact same nightmare. The very next morning, Lance woke up super early, figured he just had to adapt to this solo life again, washed his face, then marched straight down to the massive cafeteria. His university boasted 4 dining halls, packing every major regional cuisine imaginable. From north to south, food was endless, but you and I know the catch. The campus was packed with students. During peak daily hours, those stall lines got absolutely ridiculous. All the best dishes, totally gone if you did not show up super early. By the time he actually dragged himself there, the place was already a total madhouse. We are talking 20 to 30 hungry people already waiting at the soup dumpling spot. The regular dumpling window, even worse. The crowd there was practically spilling into the aisles. Our guy just sighed and obediently joined the back of that long soup dumpling line. He stood there for 15 minutes before finally grabbing his tray, found the nearest empty table, sat down and solemnly started his breakfast, one bite of bun, one sip of warm porridge. "Hey there, little brother Lance." While he was chewing, someone across the table suddenly spoke up. Startled, he looked up. No way. It was actually upperclassman Tyler sitting right there. His chest totally tightened up. "You and I know life has really cruel timing. What a cursed cafeteria. Cannot find the one girl he desperately wants to see today." But he bumps into the exact guy he wants to avoid. "So, little brother Lance, did you hand my love letter to Maya? What did she say?" the older guy demanded. Tyler slammed his tray down, locking eyes from across the table. Lance just forced a smile. "Look, man, I gave her your letter, but she literally did not say anything. If you want the verdict, go ask her yourself. I have been drowning in classes lately. Honestly, have not seen her around." With that, Lance demolished his entire plate of buns. Polished off the porridge too, but while returning his tray, something caught his eye, a familiar, gentle silhouette standing near the edge of the room, but when he frantically double-checked the spot, nothing but empty air. For 3 whole days, Maya and her entire friend group vanished entirely. It was like they evaporated from the earth, not a single trace left behind by them. No shadow of them anywhere. You and I see Lance didn't call either. Instead, he tried, forcing himself to readjust to flying solo. Why? Because he was absolutely terrified of looking like a desperate fool again. Fast forward to the afternoon of day 4. Class finishes and he spots Maya on campus, walking shoulder to shoulder with the upperclassmen. Tyler, whatever that upperclassman was saying to her right then, the gentle smile on Maya's face was crushing. Lance desperately wanted to walk right over and ask where she had disappeared to. Why was she completely ignoring his calls and text messages? But honestly, Maya and Tyler were chatting so happily, she definitely would not want his annoying interruption, so our guy just turned and left. Day 5, he literally bumps into Maya head-on in the bright corridor, still totally gorgeous. The second she saw him, she froze up, then instantly frowned hard, right as Lance opened his mouth to speak. Upperclassman Tyler caught up from behind. Maya shot Lance an absolutely freezing glare and just walked off with Tyler. Every single word Lance wanted to say got instantly stuck in his throat, but weirdly, he felt happy. At least he finally confirmed Maya hadn't gotten into some terrible accident. Total relief. He completely skipped dinner that day, just sat outside until curfew was basically hitting the dorms before heading back. Honestly, he did not know what was wrong with himself. Seeing Maya and Tyler side by side, his heart just shattered, but Lance already knew this was coming. After all, he was only the messenger bird between them. His head throbbed horribly, appetite completely gone, and he kept having brutal nightmares. He really wanted to call his folks, but was terrified they would hear the pain in his voice and panic, so he toughed it out alone. His buddy Pete mentioned the weight loss, the dead look in his eyes. It literally hurt Pete to see him fading away. Lance felt totally sick. Otherwise, his skull would not be pounding this badly. Zero energy left to even walk, and his vision just kept going pitch blacken. Sudden waves. Fast forward to the morning of day 6. The whole floor is awake. Lance is completely out cold. Pete instantly noticed something was horribly wrong. Actually, Lance was fully conscious. He could hear every single sound in the room, just could not open those heavy eyes. Every single bone in his body ached deeply. He heard Pete whispering with another roommate nearby, "The guy is burning up. Is this fever gonna fry his brain? Sitting in that cold wind every single day. Does he even have a brain to fry?" It wasn't smart anyway. "Hey, stop talking trash, man. We need to haul him to the campus infirmary to get him treated. This fever is dangerous." The splitting headache only got worse. Lance's mind completely blurred, sinking straight into pure dark emptiness. He heard a voice calling him anxiously. Probably just a fevered dream. He swore he smelled Maya right there. His throat was painfully dry. waking up with a harsh cough. He felt the blanket beside him sink down, turned his heavy head, waking whoever was. Sitting there, it was Maya, looking back with heavy, sleepy eyes, those beautiful eyes that were usually sparkling were now overflowing with sheer relief and heavy guilt. Get this, it really was her. Lance, you're finally awake. Need some water. Maya honestly looked exhausted beyond belief, her voice completely hoarse. I can grab it myself, thank you so much. Maya, our guy, struggled, trying so hard to sit up. The water rested on the cabinet, not far off. If he just leaned forward an inch, he could easily grab it, but a warm hand pressed onto his shoulder, gently forcing him down. She turned around and poured warm water straight into a glass, dropped a straw in, and handed it right to him. Lance reached up to take it. Maya quickly pulled it away. Hey, do not be stubborn, just drink. All right, watch this. Lance looked at her in total disbelief, his throat absolutely burning. 2 sips of water helped him out. Still, he kept staring right at Maya. Unblinking, he told her to go, but she insisted she wasn't busy today. Maya gently placed his hand back under the covers, carefully tucking in the heavy blanket. She scolded him gently. How did he get so insanely skinny without her watching? Him, those 2 pounds they worked hard to gain, completely gone. He just turned his head toward the window, totally ignoring her. She demanded to know why he skipped eating. She flicked a finger right at his forehead, but he quickly dodged it. Why ignore her calls? Did he mess up? Lance just couldn't hold back. Maya told him firmly that she was a grown adult. She knew exactly what her own heart wanted, handling her own relationships perfectly without him pushing her towards other guys. Maya's voice stayed super gentle, but carried a hint of undeniable firmness. Lance defended himself. He wasn't pushing, just delivering a letter for upperclassmen. Tyler, the guy, was just so persistent about it. Lance figured even if he refused, Tyler would find another way to give it to her. He truly never intended to push her toward anyone. Maya just chuckled. So was he still planning to accept love letters from other guys for her? Lance honestly just shook his head. No more letters. She smiled, asking if he still wanted to play matchmaker. He definitely wasn't helping anymore. Lance sincerely apologized to Maya right then. He was so obedient. Turns out, Maya was furious he delivered that love letter for another guy. Looking back on it, Lance realized he was way too careless. Then she smiled. He was the best boy. Maya actually apologized to him too. She felt terrible leaving him alone for days, promising never to do it again. Suddenly a quick knock echoed. Maya opened the door, and upperclassman Tyler casually strolled right in with a bright smile, carrying a heavy fruit basket. He placed it on the small cabinet, pulling up a chair right by Lance's hospital bed. Tyler asked how he was feeling. Any discomfort? Lance forced a polite smile, having just made up with Maya. His mood was actually decent. They casually chatted with Tyler for a while. About 10 minutes later, Tyler mentioned he had some other stuff to handle and needed to leave, telling Lance to rest up. Maya tucked him in, walking out to see Tyler off. Now, this was a standard 6-person ward, no private bathroom anywhere, and Lance was the only patient admitted. Having just finished his IV drip, he really needed the restroom. He had to use the public one down the hall. First time here, Lance had absolutely no clue about the layout. He wandered half the ward before finally spotting the restroom doors. Just now pay attention here. Just as Lance reached for the door, voices echoed nearby. They weren't whispering at all, loud enough for Lance to hear every word. Why stop pretending? Heart aching for him. It was Tyler's voice, couldn't bear watching. Maya's voice sounded gentle as always. She truly didn't expect a guy like him to actually sigh over this. Never mind, just take really good care of Lance. Need anything at all, find him anytime. Tyler knew he didn't stand a chance romantically, but she still had to save a spot for him as a friend. Maya smiled gracefully. Of course, she apologized for troubling him this time. After visiting the restroom and sneaking back into bed, Lance threw a fuss about being discharged. Maya dragged him to the doctor. Turns out he was seriously sick. His throat Still inflamed, you and I need to watch Lance for 2 more days before discharge. Once stable, he stayed hospitalized for 3 whole days, and Maya, she carefully took care of him the entire time. When discharge day finally came, she personally escorted him back to his dorm. Naturally, this drew absolute envy from the entire boys' building. Since they made up, Maya became even more attentive toward him, so much gentler. Lance greedily soaked it all in, hoping these perfect days would last just slightly longer. Lately, Maya's grad school workload suddenly skyrocketed. She was busy all day long, completely tied up, but she still found ways to squeeze out time to keep him company. When truly swamped, she ordered him takeout. Under her care, Lance turned back into that happy, carefree guy. Time flew straight into November. It quickly got bitterly cold. Outside, students all around campus started swapping into much thicker padded jackets. He remembers one specific evening. The sunset painting the horizon that day was exceptionally beautiful. Maya sent him a WeChat, asking him to come downstairs immediately. She had something incredibly important to tell him. Lance threw on his jacket, stuffed his phone in his pocket, and sprinted outside. It had snowed earlier that morning, traces of pure white snowflakes clung to the winter branches, sparkling brightly like fine crushed silver. Light. Maya stood waiting under a tree, waving at him. Her face beamed with uncontrollable excitement, like she had just experienced the absolute greatest thing ever. Maya or the competition results out. Lance dashed over like an absolute cannonball, asking excitedly. She just nodded, literal starlight flickering in her eyes. Lance, guess. What place did we get? Don't tell me it's first place. He tentatively offered his guess. Maya laughed loudly and threw herself right into his arms. Of course, it's first place. Our Lance is the absolute best, #1 in the whole world. That evening, Lance and Maya celebrated across a campus that just saw its very first snow. Jumping and bounding with joy, she hopped onto his back, making him carry her, and sprint wildly across campus, attracting the totally envious gazes of so many people. In the past, no matter what happened, Lance always wanted to share his victories with Khloe, but that day, he won first place in a massive competition, yet he didn't even think about her to celebrate the huge win. Instead, it was Maya. She treated his whole dorm and her close friends to a massive dinner. When it finally ended, Lance and his roommates were totally tipsy, stumbling with their arms draped around each other's shoulders into the quiet night, screaming off-key songs at the very top of their lungs. Maya remained perfectly sober. She escorted Lance all the way back to his dorm building, watched him go safely inside, then turned and left. Listen, Lance, this Maya of yours treats you like absolute royalty every single day. The way she looks at you is definitely not normal. What exactly are you thinking here, whether it works or not? Do not just leave her hanging. Let me remind you, she's the literal goddess in the hearts of every guy at Northern U. Do not miss out on this. Here we go. Again, you and I both know how dense our MC is, right? Ever since they made up, they constantly tried to link him and Maya romantically from time to time. He had explained this 100 times. That was just his older sister, Maya, the same Maya who doted on him the absolute most since childhood. In her heart, he was just the little brother. She was the older sister. That dynamic was deeply and permanently rooted. He was too lazy to explain anymore. Even if they weren't tired of it, Lance was exhausted from saying it. He just rolled his eyes, pretending not to hear, absolutely pissing Zach off. Elbowing him hard. Keep playing dumb, man. With your low EQ, I honestly pity the goddess, his friend joked. Laughing it off, they finally reached the 4th floor and bumped into Pete. No idea when he even got back. The two of them followed Pete inside the dorm, but Pete immediately teamed up with Zach to shift the focus right back to Lance. Both guys swore Maya liked him, urging him not to mess this up and lock her down. Powerless to explain, Lance just played dead and went straight to sleep. He figured he'd be totally alone for winter break again, but surprise, departure morning, right as he stepped out of the dorm, there was Maya, standing under a tree, waiting for him with her Suitcase ready, she hadn't visited home in nearly 2 years. Her family finally called her. Back for the new year, Lance jumped up, thrilled, asking why she didn't tell him. Earlier, Maya's excuse, she wanted to give him a massive surprise. Well, it definitely worked. With Maya along for the ride, the trip home was incredibly comfortable. He felt like some little kid who never grew up, meticulously taken care of by her the entire way back. His mom opened the door, spotting him and Maya too. She was stunned for a second, then joyfully welcomed her. Maya, I haven't seen you in ages. You look prettier than ever. Lance didn't cause you too much trouble at school, right? His mom grabbed his luggage with one hand, enthusiastically ushering Maya inside. Of course not, Maya replied. Lance is actually very sensible, not a bother at all. Maya chatted with his mom briefly, then turned and knocked on her own front door next door. 2 seconds later, total ear-piercing shrieks from her auntie's pure joy. Look how thrilled she is. Lance's mom pursed her lips and smiled warmly. While unpacking his bags, she explained that Auntie usually acted like she didn't care, but deep down, she missed Maya terribly, constantly muttering about her. Maya finally coming back totally exceeded her uncle and auntie's expectations. Even Khloe was caught completely off guard. She had finished classes earlier than them, but arrived a day later just because Chad wanted to hang around in Kyoto for fun. The exact day Khloe returned, the parents specifically organized a big dinner gathering. After all, it had been 2 whole years. Maya always missed these family events. This time, both households absolutely had to share a massive reunion dinner together. They told Khloe to head straight for the restaurant immediately after landing. Afterwards, everyone would head home as one group, the classic so-called reunion dinner. Everyone showed up, but you and I know this wasn't harmonious. Expected, Chad walked in alongside Khloe. This totally broke everyone's expectations. Download Shuchai novels, search Forget the Chills to read the full episodes. Anyway, Lance finally let go. He considered his 20 years of youth totally wasted. His happy parents took one look at Khloe and Chad. Their smiles instantly vanished. They politely greeted Khloe, then went completely dead silent. Uncle and Auntie's expressions turned incredibly ugly too. Auntie especially kept stealing worried glances at Lance and his mom. The sheer awkwardness and bitter annoyance on her face couldn't be hidden whatsoever. All those nasty past memories had clearly already deeply rooted themselves in everyone's minds. Maya sat right beside Lance, sharply noticing the heavy shift everyone's mood. She also caught Lance's bitter expression, purely triggered because of those two suddenly showing up together. Quietly, she grabbed his hand, squeezing it tight so hard his knuckles actually hurt, instantly snapping him back to reality. If he wasn't. If he is unhappy, she whispers, don't force it. Wanna walk? Maya is always gentle. Lance smiles, turning his head to look at her. No need, he is perfectly fine. The dishes arrive fast. Uncle Weaver tells everyone to dig in, and they do so, but in dead silence. Even Uncle Weaver and Lance's dad, who usually love grabbing a few drinks when they get together, just quietly stare at their chopsticks. The fish head here is delicious. Chad tries some. Khloe finally breaks the silence, picking up some food for Chad, but get this, she hypes up the fish, yet the food she gives him is broccoli instead. Clearly, Khloe is not nearly as calm inside as she looks on the surface. Chad ignores the food in his bowl. Instead, he just stares right at Maya. Khloe is this older sister Maya. Khloe's hand gripping her chopsticks pauses. She glances at Maya. Yeah, she graduated from Northern U, the same university Lance attends. Don't you know Sister Maya? Lance, Chad actually went to Northern U for an exchange, and you never took him to meet her. Lance is just speechless. That is her own biological sister, yet she never introduced them. Why drag Lance into this mess, just as he is about to open his mouth to fire back? Maya presses a hand onto his leg to stop him, speaking with a dark face. Who is Chad? Why should Lance bring him to me? Am I supposed to meet any random stray dog that wants an audience? Sorry, I just do not have time. Wow, absolutely brutal. Freaking awesome. Chad's original plan here was probably wanting to smooth things over with the Weaver family, but unexpectedly, Maya gives him absolutely nothing. His miserable face cycles through a very colorful display of emotions. Seeing Chad suffer like this, Khloe's heart aches terribly. Smack, she slams her chopsticks right onto the table. How can you say that? Chad is my boyfriend, not some irrelevant stray dog. Oh, is that so? Maya slowly raises her eyes, staring Khlo down completely unblinking. Her gaze sharp and freezing cold. Nobody told me you got a boyfriend, since he is your boyfriend. He is a junior. Why didn't he say hello to me when he visited Northern U? He wouldn't dare disrespect me as the older sister. Right, you have to admit, brilliant counterattack. Lance loves that Maya is backing him up. Having Maya around is great. Khlo snaps back, you are so busy studying. It was no big deal anyway. Why tell you? Just focus on your own things. You do not need to worry about everyone else. Mom and Dad are still here. Either way, it is not your place to run this household. Then, Auntie drops the shrimp she just peeled right into Lance's bowl. She raises her chin up, gesturing for him to eat. Uncle Weaver lifts his eyes, casually glancing at the dish. Maya, peel a few more. Lance loves these. And Maya, listen, we watched Lance grow up. You must take good care of him over there. Maya sighs, am I not peeling them right now? Think I am slow? Why not help out? Lance jumps in, no need. Mom, Dad, just eat, I have got it. Khlo weighs her options and then finally yields. Chad, let me formally introduce you. This right here is my older sister, Maya Weaver. Sister Maya, Chad and I have actually been together for a long while, because you were so busy I didn't bother you. It was me who did not think it through. I am sorry. Wow, Khlo actually knows how to show weakness. This is totally beyond Lance's expectations. Chad sees the room turning completely against him. Lance forced a smile, obediently playing along. Sister Maya, he called out. Maya shot Chad a sharp side-eye, casually tossing her napkin down onto the dining table. She finally spoke up. Heard there is some young master up in North City named Chad. Same name maybe, Khlo gasped. You actually know about that? No, it's not the same. It actually is him. His family had major drama. He and his mom moved here ages ago. Khlo rushed to defend Chad. Maya just stared blankly at the two of them, huddled so closely together. Face completely unreadable, she dropped the absolute next bomb. Did I forget something? Weren't the Hua and Jang families up in North City supposed to get married ages ago? So why exactly did you flee down south? Did the Jang family see the Huas lose absolutely everything and cancel the wedding? The absolute second Maya dropped that Jang family name, Chad's face lost all its color. He went completely ghost white, his entire body locked up like solid rock. Pure panic. Lance's parents just pretended they didn't hear a single thing. They completely ignored it, quietly debating about adding chili rings to the garlic broccoli. Meanwhile, Khloe's parents sat there with furious, totally dark expressions on their faces. They didn't say a word. Maya and Khlo were locked in a brutal silent standoff. Utterly exhausting. While Lance let his mind wander, Chad suddenly snapped his head over. He glared right at Lance, sharp as a knife, packed with absolute heavy hatred. Lance realized it instantly. Chad clearly thought our MC was the one who exposed his cheating secret to Maya. Honestly, you and I can see exactly why Chad suspected him. Because out of everyone sitting at that dining table, Lance was the only one there who actually knew the full story of what happened at Northern University. The room's vibe was incredibly heavy and insanely awkward, so our MC quickly said goodbye to the aunt and uncle. Stepping outside, Chad could think whatever he wanted. Lance wasn't taking the fall for this. Let the guy stay completely delusional. The restaurant was built just like a traditional folk house. It actually featured a massive backyard. A bright blue stone path split the whole yard right down the middle. Vegetables grew on the left, while a bamboo tea table and a few rattan chairs sat on the right. Lance slumped into a chair, just scrolling Through his phone, anything to escape that dining table drama, who knows exactly how. Much time passed, you sure know how to hide. Lance looked up, Khloe he. Placed his phone face down and smiled. Why aren't you in there with Chad? He left, Lance didn't bother asking why, and she didn't volunteer the reason either. They just sat there in total silence, like the other person was not even there. So are you and Chad actually doing okay? Lance finally broke the awkward silence. She turned to look at him. A tiny spark of genuine warmth floated into her eyes. Khloe only ever smiled exactly like this when she was thinking about Chad. Yeah, we are doing great. Whatever Sister Maya said about North City and the Jang family. Lance Harper, shut your mouth, Khloe snapped. Since when did you ever become this petty, opening your mouth just to gossip about us? So what if he is from North City? So what about the Jang family? Everyone has a past. You and I were grouped together by our families for 18 years. Does that mean I have to carry that baggage forever? Khloe was absolutely exploding now. Lance just laughed. Here's the thing you and I know. You can't save a doomed ghost. So let her keep ignoring the cheating. He brushed off her angry words completely. Wind blowing past his ears, Lance just ignored them. He got up and left the backyard completely. Where did you run off to? Why so breathless? Did someone make you mad? Right outside the restroom, Lance bumped straight into Maya. Bitten by rabid dog, he complained calmly. Maya's eyes darkened instantly. Khloe provoked you again. Lance shook his head. No, just me sticking my nose where it doesn't belong. Maya rolled her eyes, quickly understanding his meaning. She gently patted his back to comfort him. Didn't you already know it would end like this? Why did you still say anything? Ever heard the phrase, no good deed goes unpunished? Lance didn't know what happened after he left the table, how Chad departed, or why Khloe sat alone in that backyard for so long. Either way, this tense reunion dinner had ultimately ended on a seriously sour note. A few afternoons later, Lance bumped into Chad at a beverage shop. The guy looked pretty haggard. Chad said he wanted to have a chat with him. Lance remembered that exact dirty look Chad gave him at the dinner table. He didn't want the guy to keep misunderstanding. Some things just had to be made completely clear. If you have something to say, spit it out. I don't have much time to waste. Chad looked up nervously. Did you tell Khloe what I did at Northern U? Lance laughed out loud. The scumbag was confessing without being pressed. Did you do something at Northern U? Chad choked, obviously not expecting him to say that. He suspiciously examined Lance's expression, trying to figure out if what he said was true. If this is why you hunted me down today, Chad, I can tell you secrets always get out eventually. You better start looking out for yourself. Lance, we're classmates, you know me. Stella is literally just a good friend from North City. There is absolutely nothing going on between us. Totally clean. Seriously, I wanted to tell Khloe myself, but this isn't some massive deal anyway. It has absolutely nothing to do with our relationship, so I just stayed quiet. Hearing Chad's ridiculously shameless defense, Lance was honestly a bit speechless. Calling that nothing, by his twisted logic, hitting up a hotel room would probably just be labeled as partnering up to practice sumo wrestling. Chad, whatever is going on between you and Stella, if you want to clear the air, it's way more appropriate for you to tell Khloe. Lance stood up, getting ready to leave. Lance, this spring festival I will be spending it with Khloe. The smug provocation in Chad's eyes couldn't possibly be more obvious. Even if you spend it with a stray dog, it has absolutely nothing to do with me. I'm not your dad. No need to report to me every single time. After dropping that, Lance turned and walked away. Chad glared at his back, so incredibly angry that his eyeballs nearly popped right out. Now, the actual fact that Chad was spending the new year with Khloe. You and I both called it. Maya confirmed it was all because of Khloe's stubbornness. Her parents didn't like Chad at all. They strongly opposed him coming over for the new year. Khloe actually used insane methods like going on a hunger strike. Her parents had no choice but to yield. Lance told his mom about this, making it clear he didn't want to spend New Year with the Weaver family anymore. Chad's trash character and shady behavior, just. Looking at the guy disgusted him. Spending the new year together, that would literally make him throw up his dinner. It's a once-a-year festival. Everyone just wants some peace and good luck. His mom admitted they originally didn't plan to spend it together this year anyway. His dad just hadn't found a good excuse to decline yet. The head of the household, after all, at the crucial moment, his dad perfectly displayed true wisdom. With just a simple wave of his hand, he decided the entire family would mobilize and travel to Haiti for the new year. He took their 3 IDs and booked 3 plane tickets on the spot. Their auntie only found out about their sudden decision to travel for the holidays on the day of the minor New Year's Zionian. She cried right then and there, completely covering her mouth, weeping so. Sadly, his mom felt absolutely terrible about it, too. With red eyes, she chatted with the auntie for an entire morning. For the minor New Year dinner, their 2 families ate separately for the first time in 20 years. He didn't know how the Weaver family was doing, but anyway, his family of 3 was quite happy. His mom brought all the delicious dishes to the table. His dad opened some red wine, pouring a glass for both him and his mom. Our guy picked up his wine glass, just about to toss out a few congratulatory words to liven up the festive atmosphere, but suddenly, someone knocked on the front door. He put down his wine glass and hurried over to open it. It was Maya. He was totally surprised. She greeted his parents, coming over for the minor New Year dinner, asking if she was welcome. His mom was just worrying she had nobody to gossip with, so when Maya arrived, his mom was thrilled. Welcome in, over a fresh set of tableware. Maya kept telling his parents just how excellent he was at school, explaining how his paintings were actually taken by the professor to be used as perfect examples displayed in class. She hyped up how he used his own skills, earning nearly 200 grand in one single go, saying in the future, his mom and dad would definitely get to enjoy a great life thanks to him. Maya charmed his parents so perfectly, their faces completely bloomed, with bright smiles continuously piling food into her bowl. Meanwhile, he, the actual biological son, was reduced to sitting on the sidelines like a total background character. The meal ended in warm laughter and cheerful voices. His dad accompanied his mom to quickly wash up the bowls and chopsticks. He pulled Maya into his room to sit down, finally getting the perfect chance to ask the burning question he held back all dinner, asking Maya why she suddenly ran to his house to eat. Wasn't her mom furious? Maya replied her mom wished she could come too. Why would she be mad? Maya smiled gently. Her mom actually had thoughts of coming too. His stomach was full of questions. He just sprawled right over the desk, sticking his head directly in front of Maya. Before he could even say a word, a faint, sweet fragrance rushed into his senses. Right then, his only thought was how incredibly beautiful Maya truly was. Plus, having drank a little wine, she looked even gentler when she smiled. He stared at Maya's silky, soft, smooth, long hair. His hands felt a bit itchy. What do you want to do? Before his hands could even lift up, Maya reached out and secured his head, not letting him move forward any further. Being totally uncooperative, he twisted his neck to shake off her hand and leaned in once again, saying he didn't want to do anything, just wanted to know what she meant by that earlier. Maya gazed at him softly for a good while, then her face suddenly leaned right in. You and I can feel the tension. Less than 5 centimeters apart, he saw her eyelashes trembling slightly, her lips pressed together, seemingly trying so hard to suppress some intense emotion. He had never been this close to any girl before. Not even Khloe. His heart involuntarily started pounding hard, thump thump, getting incredibly flustered. He had absolutely no choice but to try his best to lean his head backward. As a result, he pushed way too hard, and the back of his head smacked directly against the. He slams into the bookshelf, groaning in pain. Maya just casually sits back down. She acts like nothing happened. Our MC shoots her a seriously annoyed glare. He blames her for getting way too close. She just stares right back, teasingly. His face is burning up. Maya jokes she was just checking for some weird eye booger, classic Maya logic. Our MC immediately gets defensive, calling her the booger. But he still reaches up to check his eye anyway, and wouldn't you know, there actually was an eye booger. Maya absolutely loses it, bursting into laughter. After catching her breath, she explains that her family was just about to eat. Then Chad showed up outside, you know the type, right, since it was the holidays. They basically had to let him inside. Could they really leave him out? Her parents were annoyed, but the younger sister was thrilled. Plus, it is a major holiday. They couldn't really complain, so they just had to accept it. Our MC completely admires Maya here. Her future brother-in-law shows up, and what does the older sister do? She literally runs away. Pretty ruthless move, right? Maya just smirks at that. She absolutely refuses to deal with that awkward drama. Eating with a guy like Chad, gross. Soon after, our MC's family heads out for their big New Year trip. Maya drops them at the airport looking absolutely miserable and grumpy. Completely ignoring our guy, he has to talk endlessly just to earn one tiny response out of her, come back soon, spending the big holiday away from home. For the first time feels incredibly fresh. On New Year's Eve, they gather with tons of travelers for a massive holiday feast right there in the main hotel lobby. The staff even set up a killer new sound system. Everyone is singing and dancing, total hype. When he finally gets back to his room, he still wants more. It's already 9 p.m. He stands by the huge floor-to-ceiling glass window, staring out at the endless city lights from thousands of homes. Fireworks occasionally light up the dark sky. In that moment, his mood is incredibly peaceful. Then a video call rings. No guessing needed, he knows. It has to be Maya. On screen, she is hiding out in her room, looking completely miserable. She wishes him a happy new year, then asks what his big resolutions are. Our guy says he just wants everyone happy. He wants to see a live concert. Oh, and he wants Maya to keep getting prettier. Mostly, he wants to use his skills to make real money so his parents can live comfortably. Hearing this, Maya chuckles. She praises him for being a good guy and tells him to hurry back. Chad has been visiting every single day, driving her totally insane. If our MC doesn't get home soon, she threatens to go wander the cold streets to escape. Obviously, she isn't actually going to be homeless. She is just trying to make him laugh. And it works. He laughs until his ribs hurt. Maya adds that family dinner was incredibly boring. Chad's whole act at the dinner table, completely unbearable to watch. Literally nobody in the family likes the guy except Khloe. Maya complains that she finally came home for the holidays, only for our MC to go traveling, leaving her feeling totally abandoned. If she had known this would happen, she never would have returned at all. She basically nags and complains for a solid hour, until our guy promises to rush back as soon as possible, before she finally hangs up. He notices something. You and I saw it, right? That final look in Maya's eyes. It seemed super reluctant to let him go, hiding a tiny bit of. Our guy felt totally ignored, but under Maya's daily urging, his mom and dad dragged him back. He still wanted to travel, but by day 8 of the first lunar month, they were home. Auntie suggested another reunion dinner, saying they shouldn't eat out. She wanted to cook a massive feast right at her house. They just needed to relax and enjoy the meal, but his mom politely turned it down. She claimed she was exhausted and desperately needed some solid sleep. Honestly, you and I know every family gathering lately brought total chaos. They were practically traumatized by dinners. Anyway, by the time he finally woke up, the sky was pitch black outside. He heard constant, happy laughter coming from the living room. He walked out to check. Maya was right there, helping his mom wash veggies. They were chatting away like best friends after 10 days apart. Maya looked absolutely stunning. The second he stepped out into the room, Mia's eyes shone so brightly. Later, after Mia finally left, his mom pulled his dad aside with a massive teasing grin. She mentioned Maya seemed distracted, but the second she saw him appear, her eyes completely lit up. She definitely had some very real, very romantic feelings for their boy. Now his dad always spoiled his mom, whatever she said. It was absolute law. Hearing this theory, his dad nodded seriously, whispering something quiet. In response, he eavesdropped at the door but couldn't hear it. That evening, Maya stayed for dinner. Well, actually, Maya cooked the entire delicious meal herself and then sat down to eat with the family. This was his very first time tasting anything Maya cooked, and honestly, it was incredibly delicious. He just stood watching Maya in an apron, moving gracefully around the kitchen under that warm, soft yellow light. Water running perfectly over her delicate fingers. It didn't matter how you looked at the scene, it was absolutely picturesque. After they finished eating, Maya walked with him outside for a stroll under the starry night sky. Right nearby, a live performance was kicking off by the mall. The music was completely deafening. They showed up little late, stuck way in the back, struggling to get a decent view of the action on stage. Still, the vibe was perfect enough. Then, casually turning his head, he locked right into Maya's incredibly warm, deeply affectionate gaze. She was staring right at him. The sheer tenderness in her eyes felt like a massive, endless ocean, completely pulling him under, even with the massive plaza absolutely jam-packed with thousands of cheering people, even with the glowing moonlight and bright city streetlights. None of it mattered, because stick with me here, in Maya's eyes, he saw his stunned reflection. Mia didn't speak a single word, just kept gazing right at him. Yet it felt like she had screamed her feelings aloud, every single word. He completely understood the message deep down. His heart immediately started hammering out of control. His face burned red hot. Walking back past 10 p.m., he was still buzzing with energy, just talking nonstop to Mia about the awesome performance they had just watched. She listened patiently, occasionally chiming in with a couple of words. But mostly, her eyes constantly lingered right on him. He wasn't sure if it was his imagination, but Mia's gaze was getting hotter and hotter. Sometimes he really would mistakenly think the look in her eyes meant pure romance. But then, every time his hopes went up, reality hit. Years ago, Khloe scolded him for being a total desperate simp. Only then did he realize she just saw him as the friendly neighbor brother. It was exactly because he had misread her feelings. Before that, he was crushed so miserably before. He didn't dare to guess, didn't dare to believe. If playing the friendly neighbor was the only way to ensure he'd never get hurt, then he was perfectly willing. Call him useless, but he was terrified of heartbreak.